Chapter 1298. Ling Tian was disappointed when he went to the celestial sect. Li Tianba said he was in seclusion, and it was Li Tianhu who received him. Li Tianhu's reply to Ling Tian was that he couldn't make the decision, and could only wait for Li Tianba to come out of seclusion. Ling Tian naturally understood that this was an excuse, but he had nothing to say. The celestial sect and the Blackfiend Valley weren't in an alliance. They just shared the same interests temporarily. If the Blackfiend Valley wasn't willing to cooperate, Ling Tian couldn't do anything. After Ling Tian left, Li Tianba appeared. There's no other way. The Qing Emperor's dynasty hasn't reached the stage where we can kill as we please. We can't force it, Li Tianba said. That's right. That sandalwood should be adapting to her new realm now. When she comes out, her combat strength can't be underestimated. Li Tianhu and Li Tianba had the same idea. They couldn't be dragged into this mess. Ling Tian was furious when he returned to the celestial sect, but what could he do? The celestial sect was at a disadvantage, but the other forces weren't, so they wouldn't rashly fight the Qing Emperor's dynasty. He didn't dare to bring people and puppets to fight. He had already investigated Night Sorrow's plan. He was a little afraid of Night Sorrow's defense. Night Sorrow's arrangement eliminated the possibility of a sneak attack. As long as they fought, the Qing Emperor's dynasty would immediately send people to kill them. He couldn't guarantee that he could escape unscathed. Without a battle, Night Sorrow stayed in the 9 grand floors. He was now studying the Death Destruction Slash, but he didn't cultivate it. There was only one underworld stone, and it had to be used by the main body. The Death Destruction Slash would be the best if the main body could cultivate it. Without a battle, Night Sorrow's state of mind also calmed down. He needed a fearless heart and the determination to face the world. However, Night Sorrow also realized that the improvement of the will of nothingness had slowed down. This was the difficulty of high-level king's cultivation. The comprehension of the will of nothingness was slow, but the improvement of the will of time and space was still maintained. In his free time, Night Sorrow would go to Seven Nights City to accompany Qing Emperor. Night Sorrow knew that the current Qing Emperor was just an ordinary old man. He had lost the cultivation that had once allowed him to look down on the world, so he was probably very disappointed. Night Sorrow, I've heard from Qing Lin and Qing Wan about the current situation. You've done well. I'm very pleased. Qing Emperor said as he looked at Night Sorrow, who was brewing tea. Master, don't worry. I will find Mingdao and White Tiger's blood. Night Sorrow said as he poured a cup of tea for Qing Emperor. Don't worry. Life now is not bad. I've felt many things that I didn't feel before. Perhaps life should be like this. Ordinary, quiet and peaceful. These are all things that I didn't feel before. Qing Emperor said with a smile. Master, don't worry. Qing Emperor's dynasty is very stable. After senior brother comes out of seclusion, it will be even more stable. Night Sorrow was still afraid that Qing Emperor would be worried. I know you and senior brother's abilities. Qing Emperor's dynasty, I don't worry. Wuyo is my current state of mind. However, you have to be careful with your senior brother. He is too strong and too weak, Qing Emperor said. I will. Night Sorrow nodded. At this moment, Yi Qingyan came with a food box. However, when she saw Night Sorrow, she was a bit nervous and embarrassed. If there's food, there's wine. Take it out. It's not like I don't know. If you need it in the future, just get it from your mother. Take a little less each time. Your grandmaster's state of mind is the same when he drinks. 1 cup or 2 cups is no different from 1 jar or 2 jars, Night Sorrow said to Yi Qingyan. Qingyan understands. Yi Qingyan nodded. After drinking a cup of wine with Qing Emperor, Night Sorrow left. However, he asked Yi Qingyan to accompany Qing Emperor for a while. Seeing Night Sorrow leave, Qing Emperor smiled at Yi Qingyan. In your family, your mother and aunt are the stricter ones, right? Why are you and Yujun more afraid of your father? Father has never said harsh words to us. Not even once, let alone scolding us. Father has been working too hard these years. My brother and I don't want him to be disappointed, not even a little bit, said Yi Qingyan. She was only a month older than Yi Yujun, and was the elder sister. Your way of thinking is right, and it's also very rare. You've all done it. In your father's heart, Nothing is more important than his family and the people around him. In fact, his inner motivation comes from protecting the people he wants to protect. You are his motivation to move forward, and that includes his current grandmaster, Qing Emperor said. Father has created one situation after another. However, with great achievements comes great responsibility. My mother said that father simply can't stop. Only when the day comes when he can sweep through everything, when he can suppress everything, will he be able to have peace and quiet, said Yi Qingyan. Your father can do it. He just needs some time. Give him time. At that time, you can say that you're Night Sorrow's daughter, and you can do whatever you want in the world. You're proud to have such a father, said Qing Emperor with a smile. Grandmaster, it's not like that in Qingyan's world. Father is the pride of my heart. But one day, when someone talks about Yi Qingyan, I think that Yi Qingyan is also the pride of my father. That's my dream, said Yi Qingyan. Good. I've always known that your uncles were lacking. They were lacking in aptitude and state of mind. Now I understand that what they lack the most is their mentality, will and belief. It's the belief in your heart. As long as you have this belief, you'll succeed. Qing Emperor looked at Yi Qingyan and said. At this moment, he understood the most important thing that his children lacked. Grandmaster, I'm talking nonsense. Please don't laugh at me, said Yi Qingyan embarrassedly. No, you can't lose your belief. Qing Emperor nodded at Yi Qingyan. He knew that Yi Qingyan's mentality and belief were the foundation of success. Qing Emperor's dynasty was stable. Night Sorrow planned to make a move. However, he went to Misty Rain first. Grandmaster's wife, I plan to go to the Xuanhuan Great World and the Xinwu Great World to post a reward. We have to solve the problem of Ming Dao, said Night Sorrow. Chapter J of the chapter of the original edition Misty Rain said. Grandmaster's wife has already asked for help in the Xinwu Great World. You don't need to go there. We'll talk about the Xuanhuan Great World later. Now the Qing Emperor's dynasty needs someone to guard it. You're the most suitable person. You can't leave. It's not time for you to wander around. Night Sorrow nodded. He was anxious. However, the Qing Emperor's dynasty was not stable yet. Then I'll wait for you to finish your closed-door training. Then I'll go out for a walk. You don't need to be anxious. How long have you lived? It's only 100 years. Your master has taken the limitless elixir. He has 10,000 years. What can't you do in 10,000 years? Don't you have confidence? Misty Rain saw Night Sorrow's anxiety. I understand. I have to convince the celestial sect. Only then can I do things with confidence. I believe I can do it. As long as I work hard, there's nothing I can't do. Night Sorrow suddenly felt more relaxed. Chapter 1299. All along, what Night Sorrow did not lack the least was faith. He felt that as long as he was willing to work hard, there was nothing he could not accomplish. Misty Rain spoke the truth. He cultivated to the High King level in 100 years. Then, even if he had 1,000 years to cultivate to the Monarch level, there was enough time. Have you thought it through? Misty Rain looked at Night Sorrow and asked. I understand. I have confidence in myself. Night Sorrow nodded. Misty Rain nodded. She had already sensed Night Sorrow's change. She suddenly felt that her husband was indeed amazing. His eyes for accepting disciples were sharp. Night Sorrow's change in mood was very rare. Many times, what limited people's progress was a psychological barrier. Awakening and enlightenment were extremely important. Night Sorrow here could enlighten him with just a few words. This was rare and valuable. Soon after, Night Sorrow found materials related to the constellation world. Although he would not go now, he would definitely go in the future. After finding the materials, Night Sorrow slowly studied them. The constellation world was at the level between a high-grade world and a large world. It was slightly higher than a high-grade world, but it still did not reach the level of a large world. The restrictions were relatively special. The sky giants were rejected and could not enter. People of other levels could enter, but no one could easily enter. The constellation world was the territory of divine beasts. Entering was very difficult to return. The constellation world was the Eastern Azure Dragon territory. The Azure Dragons were high-grade dragons. They had the opportunity to be born and advance to the Golden Dragon. The southern vermilion bird territory was the territory of the vermilion bird tribe. The northern black turtle territory was the territory of the black turtle tribe. The western white tiger territory was the territory of the white tiger tribe. The white tiger tribe members were few, but each was in existence that defied the natural order. Under the sky giants, encountering them was death. In addition, not to mention that the sky giants could not enter. Even if they could, they did not dare enter the constellation world. The constellation world had sky giants level divine beasts, and the divine beasts' battle prowess was generally tyrannical. The sky giants had no chance of victory. In addition, as long as you entered, the other side would sense the opportunity and immediately come to kill you. Over time, the constellation plane became a forbidden area that no one dared to mention. No one dared to go there to train, and no one could go there to obtain resources. Thus, the constellation plane almost faded from the sight of cultivators. White tigers are extremely rare, and each of them possesses astonishing battle prowess. A high-level king can fight against a monarch, and a monarch can contend against a heaven master. Night Sorrow mumbled in a low voice because he discovered that the difficulty was extremely high. Night Sorrow felt that he had to wait. He had the ability to fight those at a higher level. If he reached the monarch realm, he would be able to defeat the white tiger. If he wanted to deal with the evil venomous centipede dragon, he would need at least the blood of a monarch-ranked white tiger. Night Sorrow closed the book and put it into his storage ring. He felt a lot more relieved. He felt that he wouldn't need a long time to reach the monarch realm. If 100 years wasn't enough, then he would take 1,000 years. If 1,000 years wasn't enough, then he would take 3,000 years. If 3,000 years wasn't enough, then he would take 5,000 years. Night Sorrow believed that he could do it. Whether it was Ming Dao or white tiger blood, as long as he could get one, then the Qing Emperor's life would be Wuyo's. Night Sorrow was confident that he could do it. Since he had nothing to do, Night Sorrow studied the Death Destruction Slash. The Death Destruction Slash was different from the Great Emperor Reincarnation Slash. The difference was that the Death Destruction Slash used the death energy as the core. A secret technique was used to merge one's will and soul power into the energy. When combined with the death energy, the attack would be able to suppress the opponent's soul and make them lose their ability to react. The duration of this loss depended on one's cultivation and the opponent's ability. Datura's cultivation was very high. When attacking, he could affect a heaven master. How could Zhang Taiyang lose? When facing the Death Destruction Slash, he couldn't counter it. He could only passively receive the attack. That was why he was at a disadvantage. There was only one underworld stone. Night Sorrow decided to let his original body cultivate it. His original body cultivated it, but his doppelganger didn't have this ability. The death energy appeared in the form of a treasure. It wasn't cultivated by the original body, so his doppelganger couldn't have it unless he got a second underworld stone. This result was regrettable, but Night Sorrow was already very happy. The original body was the most important. The doppelganger was to help fight and deal with things. After analyzing, Night Sorrow didn't cultivate, nor did he go to the Samsara Palace to deliver the underworld stone. The original body cultivated very well, so there was no need to waste time. Besides, it wasn't appropriate to keep troubling the Samsara Palace's device spirit. The Samsara Palace wasn't his, so he couldn't enter and leave as he pleased. It was like his own home. That day, when Night Sorrow went to see the Qing Emperor, the Qing Emperor sized up Night Sorrow. "You're in a good state. You're energetic. Very good. Master, you've been hiding it from me because you don't want me to take risks and worry. I know about it, but I don't think it's a problem. Master, you can hold on for 10,000 years. If you can't solve it within 10,000 years, then I'm useless. Master, I'm confident that I can do what I want to do well," said Night Sorrow. This is the formation diagram of the Xianhuang Dragon Tiger Formation. However, it's not suitable for you to set up a city-protecting formation like the Xianhuang Dragon Tiger Formation. If it doesn't have its own characteristics, it won't be a signature. You have the formation diagrams of the 9 Secret Slaughtering God Formation, the Heaven Sealing Formation, and the Heaven Locking Formation. Together with this Xianhuang Dragon Tiger Formation, You can combine them and develop a formation that belongs to Night Sorrow. The Qing Emperor handed a yellowish formation diagram to Night Sorrow. Master, this is the formation diagram of the 9 secret slaughtering god formation. You love formations. Take it to kill time. Night Sorrow took out the formation diagram of the 9 secret slaughtering god formation. This is from Datura Datura. It's not suitable for me to study it. The Qing Emperor shook his head and said. He was a gentleman. There were some things he didn't want to do. Master, Datura Datura won't mind. I'll explain, said Night Sorrow. That won't do. This is my principle. The Qing Emperor began to shake his head. Night Sorrow had no choice. He walked to the side and took out the concentric crystal. He told Datura Datura about it. Translator. Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios, no problem. Since I gave it to you, it's yours. You can arrange it however you want. Your master is a stubborn old man. Datura Datura said with a smile. She knew the Qing Emperor very well. After knowing the result of the conversation between Night Sorrow and Datura Datura, the Qing Emperor took the formation diagram of the 9 secret slaughtering god formation. My formation skills are deeper than yours because I've studied formations for a long time. I have the materials to set up a formation that can trap a giant. I can also refine a formation disc. However, I haven't studied it deeply. Since you've chosen this path, then continue on it. It's a shortcut to cultivate your mind and improve your soul cultivation. I understand. Night Sorrow nodded. There's one more thing. We have a great hatred for the celestial sect. But it's not the time to fight with them. Don't act rashly, the Qing Emperor said. Master, is the celestial sect really worth being so afraid of? Night Sorrow asked. Yes. If any sect in the world of samsara has a rank 9 practitioner, the celestial sect is the most likely. The Qing Emperor exhaled and said. Chapter 1300. Is there such a possibility? Night Sorrow felt that this matter was a little serious. Yes. Do you know that every world has a lifespan? Qing Emperor asked. Yishang nodded. He was aware of this. Space and worlds had lifespans, and the length of their lifespans was different. The lifespans of the highest worlds were longer, and the lifespans of the lower worlds were shorter. However, no matter how short a space world was, it was still very common for it to have a lifespan of tens of millions of years. When a world reached the end of its lifespan, it would collapse and reorganize. This was called destruction. If the origin core of a space world was strong, it would develop again after destruction and become a new world. If the origin core was weak, it would be completely destroyed, and a new world would produce a replacement. This was a cycle. Another was the Great Destruction cycle. The Great Destruction of a world was terrifying. It was the collapse of a group of worlds. For example, when the world of samsara was destroyed, the surrounding small worlds would be annihilated and reorganized. This was the Great Destruction era. The period of the Great Destruction cycle is called an era. Do you know how long the celestial sect has existed? They have existed since the last era, and have a long heritage. Just like the puppet technique, they are a civilization of the last era. How deep do you think their heritage is? Qing Emperor looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow didn't speak. He felt that he knew too little, too little. There was once a diviner who divined something about the celestial sect, but he was killed directly. The result of the diviner's divination was that the celestial sect had a 9th rank corpse. Qing Emperor said. There's a 9th rank corpse? That's an undying realm. Isn't a 9th rank corpse extremely terrifying? Night Sorrow was extremely shocked. The undying realm is just like my situation. What's the biggest threat and harm of the evil dragon poison centipede? It's that the soul can't stay in this body. I said that I died, but it's actually a process of reincarnation, Qing Emperor said. Night Sorrow understood that the undying king realm wouldn't really dissipate in the world unless the soul was destroyed. They could be reincarnated. However, reincarnation was very risky. It was a period of confusion. That meant that the memories of the previous life had not been awakened. If one was unlucky and met with some setbacks and died prematurely, they would really die. Luck. Reincarnation depended on luck. Even if one was a heaven overlord, they would still be powerless after reincarnation. If they were unlucky, they would still die. Yi Qianhua had successfully reincarnated many times because the danger level of the 9 regions world was low. Qi practitioners were in the undying realm, while body practitioners were in the undying realm. Only the current Night Sorrow could be considered as undying realm. Even if Night Sorrow's body was chopped off, he could still regrow his limbs. His body was almost entirely made of crystal, and his memories were immortal. As for his soul, Night Sorrow's soul was no different from the other kings. He was also immortal. What's the state of the corpse now? If you knew this, you shouldn't have gone, Yi Shang said to the Azure Emperor. No matter what state it is, no matter how strong they are, they have to fight as long as they provoke them. But you're different. You're in the growth stage, so they can't fight you head-on. Besides, they won't use their trump card unless it's the most critical moment. If they used their trump card, they would have already unified the world of samsara. Qing Emperor sneered. I understand. Night Sorrow nodded. Let me tell you this. You can be respectful, but you can't be afraid. If you're not bullied, you can bear it. But if you're bullied, you have to fight. Now you've done well. They can't do anything. Use their trump card? They don't dare and won't. They can win if they use their trump card, but they're no longer the celestial sect that everyone suspects and scruples. Qing Emperor said. After chatting with Qing Emperor for a while, Night Sorrow returned to the land of sky. He planned to talk to Father Gu. With the thunder pattern spirit gathering elixir and the support of unlimited elixirs, Father Gu was now a venerable. He was in an excellent state of mind. Father! Night Sorrow shouted to Father Gu, who was wearing coarse clothes and was mowing grass in the land of sky. Why are you so loud? You scared me. Father Gu glanced at Night Sorrow and said, Haha, I'll do it. I haven't done this for a long time. Night Sorrow took the big scissors from Father Gu's hand and began to trim the grass. When can you come out in person? Lord Yu and Qingyan have grown up. I can help you take care of a few more. Father Gu patted the broken branches and leaves on his clothes and said, Father, don't you think I'm doing well now? My son and daughter are obedient and sensible. What else can I ask for? Night Sorrow said with a smile. In the past, Zhuyuan village couldn't afford to raise so many children. But now, you can't afford to raise so many children. You can't afford to raise them, but the Yi family can. I can too. Father Gu glared at Night Sorrow. That's right. As long as you can give birth, the Yi family can afford to raise them. Night Moon Dynasty's direct descendants are still counting on you to have more children. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing walked over together. Father, Mother, you have me as your son. I also have Lord Yu as my son. I've completed my mission. You can talk to Lord Yu about this in the future. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You bastard. Can't I teach you a lesson now that you've grown up? Yu Qing scolded with a smile. In her heart, the more grandchildren the better. However, she didn't force it because the Yi family was doing very well now. They were the #1 family in the 9 regions world. Translator. Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios, I wouldn't dare. No matter how hard I've grown up, Father, Mother, and Father can beat and scold me as you wish. Night Sorrow said. Then, the family went to the center of the garden. Night Sorrow began to make tea. Night Sorrow, your adopted brother often comes over. He always says that his tea house has opened in 7 Night City, but you don't go there often. Father Gu said. I'm indeed very busy. The world is very chaotic now. Every step I take is like walking on thin ice. Night Sorrow said. Father Gu nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow didn't have it easy. Grandpa, I'm here. At this time, Chen Zhukong appeared with 2 roasted chickens and a jar of wine in his hands. Greetings to your uncle. Father Gu said. Uncle, thank you for your guidance last time. Chen Zhukong bowed. You know him? I thought you didn't know him. Serve the dishes. Father Gu said. Night Sorrow asked Chen Zhukong to sit down, but Chen Zhukong remained standing. After hesitating for a while, Chen Zhukong said, Uncle, can you do me a favor? I don't want to stay in the Commander-in-Chief's residence any longer. I want to take a look at 7 Night City. But my brother said that without his permission, if I dare to take a step out of the 9 regions world, he will break my legs. Hee. Father, what do you think? Night Sorrow looked at Father Gu. How should I put it? Young people should go out and explore. His brother might be worried about his safety. Father Gu said. All right, I'll let your brother know when I see him in 7-Night City. Night Sorrow said. Is that okay? Grand Ancestor Qianhua might have his own ideas. Yu Qing said. She felt that Night Sorrow would take responsibility for this. Is that okay? Our Lord Yu and Qingyan are also out and about. Night Sorrow felt that there was no problem. Chapter 1301. Night Sorrow is right. If I had objected to him leaving Zhuyuan village back then, the current situation would be unbearable. Alive? Can an ordinary person live to this age? They might have already returned to the earth. Old Man Gu said. Old Man Gu is right. Yu Qing nodded. She was very satisfied with her son's achievements, and was also very grateful to Old Man Gu. After chatting with his parents and Old Man Gu for a while, Night Sorrow left the city in the sky, and went to Chia City. He found Yi Qianhua and told him about Chen Zhukong. Bastard, why would I look for you for such a small matter? I've been planning to do this for a long time. I just want to test his temper. I'll talk to him later, Yi Qianhua said. He knew that Night Sorrow had a lot of things to do. Chen Zhukong's matter was a small matter, and he shouldn't trouble Night Sorrow. After helping Chen Zhukong solve the problem, Night Sorrow returned to the 9 grand floors. When Night Sorrow returned, Qing Lin and the officials of the Qing Emperor's palace were reporting something to Misty Rain. Good. You guys can tell him directly so that I don't have to pass on the message, Misty Rain said. Then Qing Lin and the others told Night Sorrow about the current situation of the empire. The defenses were all completed. It's more stable now. The officials should return to their posts. Those who have clones should return as much as possible. Their families should be placed in the Qing Emperor's city. Everything should be normal. We have ways to counter them. Ling Tian won't dare to attack at all. Also, Uncle Xian Daozi, arrange for the Qing Emperor's guard to clean up the Qing Emperor's city again, Night Sorrow said. Your Highness, the spies in the Qing Emperor's city are hidden very well. It won't be easy to dig them out, Xian Daozi said. It's best if we can dig them out. Even if we can't, we'll let the other forces know that we're constantly cleaning up the Qing Emperor's city. They won't dare to infiltrate. Without a large number of infiltrators, the Qing Emperor's dynasty will be safe, Night Sorrow said. Just do what I tell you to do. What do you understand? Misty Rain said. I can't keep up with your thoughts, Xian Daozi said. I can't guess what your Majesty's goal is. I'll go immediately. He left to make arrangements for Night Sorrow's deployment. Currently, Xian Daozi was in charge of the Qing Emperor's palace's imperial guards, while the shadow guards were under Summer City's commander. Shang Guanhong was in charge of the Qing Emperor's imperial guards. This was what the Qing Emperor had asked Night Sorrow to arrange, as they were the most trustworthy people. After everything was arranged, Night Sorrow brewed a pot of tea and invited Misty Rain to sit down. Mistress, no one will assassinate disciples here. If you have time, go accompany Master. It's okay. We've been husband and wife for many years. I haven't been with him for millions of years. Isn't he living a good life? Misty Rain said with a smile. It's different now. When people are suffering setbacks, what they need the most is the support and companionship of those around them. No matter how powerful Master used to be, he still needs his family now, Night Sorrow said. You're right. If you need anything, just send a message at any time. Remember, don't worry and make bold arrangements. There's nothing you can't do. Whether it's right or wrong, your master and mistress are behind you. They won't complain about you at all, Misty Rain said. Night Sorrow nodded. This was support, regardless of whether it was right or wrong. His days settled down. Every day Yi Shang studied formations. His main body was constantly improving his realm. One day, Night Sorrow felt that he could go to the Black-Yellow Great World once to post a reward in Mingdao. As for being unfamiliar with the place, it didn't matter. Qing Emperor and Tang Jianfeng were sworn friends. He had a good chat with Tang Bo and Tang Xian. It was no big deal for them to help him post a reward. With this idea in mind, Night Sorrow told Summer City that he was going to the Black Yellow Great World. I'll go with you. Your Highness can't go alone. Let Xiandaozi guard the 9-story tower, Summer City said. Okay. Night Sorrow nodded and sent Feishio to call Xiandaozi. Your Highness shouldn't go out at this time, but His Majesty's injury must be treated as soon as possible. That's it. If anything happens, send a message back. If something happens at home, I'll crush Your Highness's messaging crystal, Xiandaozi said. Then Night Sorrow and Summer City set off directly. After arriving at Samsara City, they left the Samsara Great World through a transmission. Not long after Night Sorrow and Summer City left, Ling Tian of the Celestial Sect got the news. He was very concerned about Night Sorrow's movements. The Celestial Sect had influence in Samsara City, so they naturally knew about Night Sorrow's appearance. However, Ling Tian didn't find out where Night Sorrow had gone. Samsara City wasn't a place where the Celestial Sect could do whatever they wanted. Since he couldn't be sure, Ling Tian sent someone to guard the transmission formation. In addition, he sent spies to continue to sneak into the Qing Emperor's dynasty to investigate. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Night Sorrow and Summer City arrived at the Black Yellow Great World through the transmission formation. The two worlds were very far away, but the transmission formation between them was of a higher level than the one Night Sorrow used in Chia City. When they arrived at the Black Yellow Great World, Night Sorrow felt a different aura. After tasting it, Night Sorrow felt that if the Samsara Great World was full of fighting spirit and biting cold aura, then the Black Yellow Great World was full of tolerance and weight. They were two completely different artistic conceptions. Night Sorrow knew that it was because of the different primary attribute. However, he didn't know what the primary attribute of the Samsara Great World was, let alone the Black Yellow Great World. After feeling it for a while, Night Sorrow and Summer City walked toward the governor's mansion of the Black Yellow Great World. It took them an hour to arrive, mainly because they were observing the situation of the Black Yellow Great World while walking, so they didn't rush to fly. When they arrived at the gate of the governor's mansion, Night Sorrow hesitated. Should he meet Tang Boheo, who was more congenial with him? Or should he meet Tang Jianfeng directly? What's wrong, Your Highness? Seeing Night Sorrow standing still in front of the gate of the governor's mansion, Summer City asked. Governor Tang and my master are sworn friends. Since I'm here, I should pay him a visit. But he's a giant. Isn't it inappropriate to disturb him directly? If I ask to see Tang Bo, Tang Yi, and the others, it would be rude. Yi Shang voiced his concerns. Your Highness is right. It's not good to meet them rashly. But if you don't, it'll be impolite. Summer City didn't know how to choose. Just then a woman came in from outside. It was Tang Yi. Night Sorrow, you've arrived at the Black Yellow Great World. Why don't you come in? Tang Yi was a little surprised to see Night Sorrow. I'm hesitating. I think it's a little abrupt to meet Governor Tang. It'll be impolite if I don't pay him a visit. Night Sorrow directly told her his thoughts. My father has nothing to do recently. He's not in closed-door training. He's in the governor's mansion. I'll take you in. After saying that, Tang Yi led the way in front. The distribution of forces in the Black Yellow Great World was very complicated. At present, the most influential person was Tang Jianfeng, the governor of the Black Yellow Great World. In the main hall of the governor's mansion, Night Sorrow saw Tang Jianfeng. Chapter 1302. You brat, I thought you would be able to stand at the door for a long time. Tang Jianfeng greeted. What was his cultivation level? He knew as soon as Night Sorrow came over. Night Sorrow greets City Lord Tang. Night Sorrow bowed. You're welcome. I've heard about what happened to your master. The Celestial Sect is very despicable. Now they're relying on their predecessors. Otherwise they're nothing. Tang Jianfeng said with disdain in his eyes. It's my fault as a disciple. I've brought trouble to my master. So no matter what the price is, I'll help my master recover, Night Sorrow said. I can understand your feelings. I've also looked into the ancient records and know what is needed. I can't do anything about the White Tiger's blood. Ming Dao has already issued a reward, but there is no news at the moment, Tang Jianfeng said. Actually, I'm here for this. Thank you, City Lord Tang. Knight Sorrow bowed deeply again to express his gratitude. You don't need to be polite or grateful. When you're older, you'll understand how difficult it is to have an old friend in life. I'm not stingy with what I can do for your master, Tang Jianfeng said. Knight Sorrow nodded. He was touched by the brotherhood. That's enough. You're too restrained here. Tang Yi, take him to your two brothers. Yi Shang, you stay here for a while. Don't think about anything, said Tang Jianfeng. City Lord Tang, as long as there's news about Mingdao, please inform me. I'll pay for it no matter what the price is. I'll give you whatever you want, Knight Sorrow said. Tang Jianfeng nodded. He was happy for his old friend because it was not easy to have such a disciple. Then Tang Yi took Knight Sorrow to her mansion and arranged a courtyard for Knight Sorrow. Then she went to inform her two brothers. Uncle Xia, now it's up to fate. In the Xinwu Great World, Master's wife has already arranged for people to buy the Mingdao. The Xuanhuan Great World has also done the same. Whether we can get it or not depends on fate, said Knight Sorrow. Yes. Summer City nodded. He knew that everyone had done everything they could for Qing Emperor. Qing Lin and Qing Wan mentioned going to the constellation White Tiger territory. However, they were stopped by Misty Rain. They did not have the ability to fight beyond their level. Entering the White Tiger territory, there was no possibility of obtaining White Tiger blood. Let alone a monarch-ranked White Tiger, even a high-level king-ranked White Tiger could kill them. The White Tiger race was a divine beast. They were naturally gifted and possessed the ultimate skill, Western White Tiger kill. It was easy and simple for them to fight and kill opponents of a higher level. What the Qing Emperor needed now was monarch-ranked White Tiger blood. Qing Lin and Qing Wan did not have this ability. Not to mention relying on numbers. Numbers were meaningless. White Tigers were fast, and numbers were useless. This was one of the reasons why the Qing Emperor's dynasty had not made any moves. Misty Rain had said that if Sandalwood had not entered the Heaven Master realm, there would be a chance. However, once she entered the Heaven Master realm, it was impossible. If a Heaven Master dared to enter the Constellation realm, the White Tiger King would sense it and immediately appear to kill them. Besides, the Constellation realm's world origin did not allow Heaven Masters to enter. This was a protection for the world's creatures. While Knight Sorrow and Summer City were talking, Tang Yi brought Tang Bo and Tang Xian over. You bastard, you didn't even shout when you came. You could have just told any city guard in the city and they would have brought you to my mansion, Tang Xian shouted after arriving. I just got here. I didn't have time to visit you. Sorry, said Knight Sorrow apologetically. It's nothing. Let's go. We'll set up a table in the best restaurant, Tang Xian said with a smile. You're the host. Since you're here, we'll eat and drink. Where's brother Tang Jun? Asked Knight Sorrow. L+new_most. Hurry up. My cousin is different from us. We don't have anything to do. He leads the army and is not usually in the Xianhuang city. Last time, it was my father who took us out to see the world, Tang Bo explained. Understood. Let's go. I haven't tasted the wine of the Xianhuang Great World. I must drink. Knight Sorrow nodded. He understood that everyone's character was different. Tang Bo, Tang Xian, and Tang Yi were all carefree people who did not want to be bound. Even the children of the city lord did not serve as officials of the Xianhuang city. Tang Jun cultivated his Dao by fighting, so he had been leading the army. After arriving at the restaurant, Tang Bo ordered a table full of dishes and the best wine. They drank and chatted. As Tang Bo asked, Knight Sorrow told him the purpose of this trip. Brother Yi, don't worry about this. We'll help you. Ming Dao has appeared and said that he will replace you. We can't guarantee anything because we don't know the price. We can only say that we'll inform you as soon as we have any news, said Tang Bo. Our elders are brothers. Although we don't know them well, we can try. I hope we can be like our elders in the future, said Tang Xian. Knight Sorrow stood up and raised his glass to them. I don't know what to say. It's a bit fake to say that we're brothers. But for now we're friends. We can be brothers. That's the truth. Let's stop talking and drink, said Tang Yi. Then Tang Xian told Knight Sorrow another piece of news. The Heaven and Earth Pavilion in the Xianhuang city would open in 2 years. Knight Sorrow could come and try. Night Sorrow was a bit confused because he didn't know what was going on. Your reincarnation world has the reincarnation palace. The Xianhuang Great World has the most famous heaven and earth pavilion. The heaven and earth pavilion can't help with cultivation, but it will open every 3 million years. It's a journey of opportunity, a time to compete with strength and luck, said Tang Xian. Then Tang Bo explained to Night Sorrow. There were countless spaces in the heaven and earth pavilion. There were 99 of them in total. If one could reach the last space, there would be an unexpected reward. It was said that someone had entered the last space but failed the test. He saw the heavenly god artifact but didn't get it. If there's a chance, I'll have to participate. I'm not from the Xianhuang Great World. Am I qualified? Asked Night Sorrow. It seems that qualification has nothing to do with strength. It's hard to say. It's the same several times. Those who want to go will be tested by the Xianhuang light. But I don't know what the test is. I'm confused every time. Tang Xian explained to Night Sorrow. Yes. After being shrouded by the Xianhuang light, you won't know anything. If you're qualified, you're qualified. If you're not, you can't enter the heaven and earth pavilion, said Tang Yi. This is too miraculous, Yishan said with some astonishment. Yes. Some monarchs aren't qualified, but Saint Kings might have a chance. As for how it's judged, I'm not sure. The heaven and earth pavilion has existed since the Xianhuang Great World was formed. The interior can be considered a space or an alternate space world, said Tangbo. Is there a way? Night Sorrow murmured in a low voice. Here's the second update. There will be 10 updates today. I've said before that I'll stop giving out rewards and updates. But I can't get over it. I feel like I'm letting down my brothers if I don't add updates. Shizi can't do anything shameful. Today's 10 updates are a reward for the Great Demon King's support. Also, with the support of 4 vigor pills, I'll also explode. But I might take a break in between before continuing. Chapter 1303. And BSB I don't know. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth is the most magical treasure and place in the black-yellow Great World. It's like a miniature of the boundless universe. I don't know the details, but if you have strength and luck, you can gain a lot. But it's very dangerous, Tang Yi said. It was dangerous because the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth could only be entered by the original body. Only the original body could enter. In addition, the opening time was different every time. Only the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth could decide when to open and close. In addition, death was death. There was no chance of reincarnation. Both the soul and the energy of the body would become nourishment for the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth. That's scary. They don't even give us a chance of reincarnation, Summer City said. The cost is proportional to the gain. If you want to gain something without taking risks, it's not in line with the natural law, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. That's what my father said. But there are many opportunities inside. There are many treasures that can strengthen one's genuine chi and soul, as well as materials for refining elixirs and weapons. My father's current status is inseparable from the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth. You know about the glazed golden core, right? Tang Xian looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Head. Yes, I know. I'm an alchemist. Night Sorrow nodded. The glazed golden elixir is an elixir that can only protect one's body temporarily. My father got the glazed fruit and cultivated the glazed golden body with it. That's why he was so strong in combat and became the city lord of the Xianhuang city. Some people have other gains, such as the master of the Wuling Mountain. He is so powerful that no one can defeat him in a head-on fight. Tang Xian gave Night Sorrow 2 examples. I see. Thank you, Brother Tang. I'll be there when the time comes, Night Sorrow said. Yishang did not need any more resources. He had everything he needed, weapons, armor, and elixirs. However, the Azure Supreme Dharch was lacking. The Azure Supreme Dharch lacked the Tao. Other than that, if there were other natural treasures, they might be of help. All right, I'll go to Samsara World to look for you when the time comes. Then we'll go in together, Tangbo said. After finishing the wine, they returned to Tang Yi's residence. Tangbo and Tang Xian also stayed in Tang Yi's residence, but they were both resting. Looking at the bright moon rising in the middle of the night, Night Sorrow fell into deep thought. What is your highness thinking about? Summer City asked. The Heaven and Earth Pavilion is sentient. It has the final say in opening and closing. In other words, there are too many unknowns, Night Sorrow said. It's like this. In addition, I can tell your highness that the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth is open to the public. However, other than the people of the great world of samsara, other cultivators are not willing to enter. Although they have great attraction, they are worried that they will be treated unfairly. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth is an opportunity, but it also requires nurturing and development. Who would be willing to be nurtured? Summer City knew about the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. He had been cultivating for a long time, so he naturally knew about some things. I have to go. When it's time to fight, I have to fight. Night Sorrow made up his mind. Summer City knew that Night Sorrow was fighting for the Qing Emperor. In order to find the right path for the Qing Emperor, he had to fight. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth existed at the beginning of the Black-Yellow Great World. How many Heaven Masters are there in the Black-Yellow Great World now? There should be some in the 100 space worlds of the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth. Therefore, Your Highness, you have to think twice, Summer City said after thinking for a while. I understand. Let's talk about this later. Night Sorrow naturally understood the danger. Maybe we will find the right path in 2 years, Summer City said. He knew that if there was a right path, Night Sorrow would not have to take this risk. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow smiled and went to the tea table to make a pot of tea. Uncle Summer, what we are most worried about is the unfairness. However, I don't think it will happen. The origin of a great world should have the boldness that a great world origin should have. The possibility is very low. Even if the possibility is low, who can be sure that it won't happen? If there are some uncontrollable dangers, it will be troublesome, Summer City said. Some time ago, my state of mind was low, which affected the improvement of my cultivation. The reason for the low state of mind is that I lack sharpness and the courage to fight with all my might. As long as I live, I will not stop fighting. This is what I have said before. Night Sorrow handed Summer City a cup of tea and said. Summer City did not say anything else because Night Sorrow had made his attitude clear. After staying in the Bound of Heaven for half a month, Night Sorrow decided to go back. He had achieved his goal, and the right path was there. Tang Xian and the others, who knew the situation in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, did not force him to stay. Night Sorrow arrived at the world of transmigration, through the teleportation formation. As soon as Night Sorrow stepped out of the teleportation formation, he saw many people eyeing him covetously. Summer City touched the saber at his waist and snorted coldly. Then he and Night Sorrow stepped into the teleportation formation. These spies were all king, but they were no match for Night Sorrow and Summer City, so they did not dare to make a move. They could only watch Night Sorrow and Summer City swagger away. After returning to the Qing Emperor's city, Night Sorrow found that everything was stable. Your Highness, there are still spies. Summer City found a suspicious person. We don't need to worry about them. Let the Qing Emperor's guards clean them up later. They will be obedient after a few rounds, Night Sorrow said. The overall situation was stable. Night Sorrow did not care about the small things. The Celestial Sect did not dare to fight head-on. They could even launch sneak attacks. After returning to the Jiucheng building, Night Sorrow told Misty Rain what had happened this time, but he did not mention going to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Then Night Sorrow went to visit the Qing Emperor. Summer City did not follow him. Night Sorrow asked Summer City to take the secret guards later and cooperate with the Qing Emperor's guards to clean up the Qing Emperor's city. After Night Sorrow left, Summer City hesitated for a moment, and then told Misty Rain about the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Ming Dao is already on the wanted list. The Heaven and Earth Pavilion may not have it. Summer City is worried that Your Highness will be ostracized and treated unfairly, because he is not a member of the Black-Yellow Great World Group. Sister-in-law, please persuade him, Summer City said. Misty Rain thought for a moment and said, It's useless to persuade him. His Majesty's matter is a knot in Night Sorrow's heart. Let's see what his situation is like in 2 years. If it doesn't work, we can find something for him to do and stagger the time. Summer City said. It's not that Summer City has a good attitude. Summer City thinks that your highness will definitely solve this matter in 10,000 years. There's no need to take such a big risk. If your highness dies, your highness's future will be ruined. Misty Rain nodded. She understood Summer City's idea. Summer City was worried about the Qing Emperor, but she did not want to see something happen to Night Sorrow. After thinking for a while, Misty Rain's eyes became a bit misty. The Heaven and Earth Pavilion is the manifestation of the origin of the black-yellow Great World. The internal space world is strange and changeable. It was formed by reference to the Great Thousand World. It can be said that it's a miniature of the Great Thousand World. It's not so easy to wander around. Night Sorrow's current state of mind is too stubborn to consider so much. Chapter 1304. Wink with a frown. Please go to $. Then let's do as you say. Let's see what happens in the next 2 years. Summer City didn't have any good ideas now. After accompanying Qing Emperor for a while, Night Sorrow returned to 9-story building. He realized that he was a little silly. The death obliteration/clone could be cultivated. Night Sorrow wanted to cultivate the death obliteration/ with the underworld stone as the core. With the underworld stone he could use it. If the underworld stone was on him, he could use it. If the underworld stone was on him, he could use it. If it was on his clone, the clone could use it. Once the clone was cultivated, the main body could use the underworld stone whenever he needed it. The underworld stone wasn't a one-time use treasure. As soon as he thought of it, Night Sorrow went to the 9-layer building's secret cultivation room and began to refine the Yellow Spring stone to recognize him as its master. The underworld stone was a spiritual treasure produced in the underworld river. The death energy was very strong. Night Sorrow's process wasn't very smooth. The death energy rebound was very strong. Fortunately, Night Sorrow's soul power was of the supreme void attribute and could suppress the death energy. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to get it to recognize him as its master. The underworld stone wasn't big, but it contained extremely concentrated death energy. If the energy exploded, it would destroy the world. Night Sorrow used an entire month to refine the underworld stone. It was very difficult. Night Sorrow's face was pale and his soul power was greatly exhausted. Night Sorrow came out of the secret cultivation room. When he was getting some fresh air, Misty Rain saw him. Night Sorrow, what's wrong with you? Your soul power is damaged and you can't hide the death energy in your body. Didn't you hide your true body? Mistress, I'm cultivating another absolute art. It's just the beginning and I haven't figured it out yet. I just need to recover. There are almost all the books I want to read. It's much more stable than the average website. The updates are faster, and there are no advertisements. Night Sorrow said. Be careful. There is no one else who can reach your level as a high-level king, Misty Rain said. Night Sorrow smiled. He was very happy. Being able to refine the Yellow Spring stone was a great gain. As for the consumption, it was not a big deal. He just needed to recover. After resting for 5 days, Night Sorrow recovered to his peak state. Next, he began practicing the Great Death Annihilation / Night Sorrow naturally wouldn't hide from anyone and run to a secluded place to cultivate. He was in the small training field behind the 9-story building, constantly studying and deducing the cultivation of the Great Death Shattering / Naturally, this scene could not be hidden from Misty Rain. After observing for a while, Misty Rain left 9-Chong building and went to 7-Night City. Why do you look so pale? Qing Emperor looked at his wife and asked. Night Sorrow is cultivating Datura's Great Death Annihilation / How can this be? How can he have the secret cultivation technique of the Great Death Annihilation / Misty Rain felt extremely uneasy. You're anxious just because of this? Qing Emperor poured a cup of tea for Misty Rain and said with a smile. You're not anxious? Your disciple is cultivating someone else's secret technique. If Datura didn't take out the secret technique, how could Night Sorrow have cultivated it? Misty Rain stared at Qing Emperor and said, I know. It must have been given by Datura. Qing Emperor nodded. Then why aren't you anxious? Datura taught your disciple a secret technique. Aren't you going to ask him about it? Misty Rain was a bit agitated because Night Sorrow was the pillar of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. If he was taken away by someone else, it would be a fatal blow to the Qing Emperor's dynasty. There are some things you don't know. Datura taught Night Sorrow his secret technique. They are engaged, Qing Emperor said. What? They are engaged? Qing Shangjuan, are you kidding? Misty Rain's eyes were wide open. I'm not kidding. They are engaged. Night Sorrow will go to the dark abyss to propose marriage when he reaches the monarch stage. Not many people know about this, so I didn't tell you. You should keep it to yourself. Also, be generous and trust your child more. Qing Emperor said to his wife. You are very calm. I like this kid, so I was worried that Datura would take him away. I just didn't expect this. Misty Rain was still emotional. You still don't know Night Sorrow well. When he first came to the Qing Emperor's dynasty, he didn't know me, so I gave him some advice. Then, I announced that I wanted to take him as my disciple. What did he mean? He said that if I was willing to take him in as a disciple, he hoped to receive my guidance, not yours, Emperor Qing said. He remembered everything that had happened back then very clearly. I'm not as generous as you are, but I won't mistrust him like this in the future. It's not that I don't trust him. I'm just anxious, Misty Rain explained. If Night Sorrow can master the Great Death / with the Great Emperor Samsara / I taught him, he will be able to fight well. Take it slow. He will grow. Besides, Datura is very generous. He didn't fight with us for Night Sorrow, and he didn't make things difficult for Night Sorrow either. That's a favor, Qing Emperor said. Original version. Shangjun I'm sorry. Are you angry that I wasn't with you all these years? Misty Rain asked. She was touched when she heard about Night Sorrow and Datura. I'm not angry. I'm just worried. It's good that you're back, Qing Emperor said. Everyone is impulsive sometimes. I wasn't calm enough back then, Misty Rain said apologetically. It's all in the past. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back, Qing Emperor said with a smile. It's good that you call it good? Look at you now. However, you've taken in 2 good disciples. Sandalwood will be able to take charge in the future. Night Sorrow is more determined. He went to the Xuanhuan Great World some time ago and offered a reward for you. He was even willing to take out the skeleton of the mysterious Ice Unicorn Tiger King. However, I didn't agree because it would be a big deal. It wouldn't be good even if there was a reward. It could easily lead to bad consequences, Misty Rain said. This kid is a little too excited. If possible, he would be willing to give up everything he has. As for the skeleton of the ice dragon, it's not that he doesn't want to give it up. It's because he's friends with the ice dragons. He's worried that the skeleton of the ice dragon would be used as a material and be desecrated, Qing Emperor said. He knew Night Sorrow very well. He's now eyeing the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth will open in 2 years. If he wants to go, we'll find a reason to arrange something for him and make him miss the opening. As for your injury, I'll think of a way. I really can't bear to let a kid risk his life, Misty Rain said. You make the arrangements. I've lived for so many years and have experienced life and death. I've already seen through life and death. I can't drag a kid down with me. However, you've really changed. You're not as willful as before, Qing Emperor said. After being trapped in the alternate space for so many years, I've thought through everything. I was too willful back then. By the way, there's something I don't understand. Who is Datura? He's not only powerful, but he's also very arrogant. Why would he be engaged to Night Sorrow? I'm not saying that Night Sorrow isn't good enough. He's just too young. The 2 of them shouldn't have crossed paths, Misty Rain said. Chapter 1305. Some things can't be explained clearly. It's fate. I think the 2 of them are very suitable for each other. Although Datura is willful and overbearing, there are things that she shouldn't do. Not to mention Night Sorrow, he's very tolerant. They are indeed very suitable for each other, Qing Emperor said with a smile. The 2 of them are involved, and no one would believe me if I told them about the engagement. They are 2 people who shouldn't have crossed paths in the first place. Heavenly Monarch Yufei sat down and calmed down a bit. We are husband and wife, so let's not hide it. You know what it means to have a supreme attribute. Night Sorrow has a supreme attribute. I support him because we are master and disciple. If Datira knows about it, does she have a choice? She can either kill him or support him. If she supports him, how can she maintain the relationship? It's impossible for them to be master and disciple because Night Sorrow doesn't want to be master and disciple. So, on the basis that they are kindred spirits, an engagement is the best way, Qing Emperor said. I understand. I heard from Summer City that Zhan Taiyang came to catch Night Sorrow once. You are worried that he knows something, so you want to kill him at all costs, right? Misty Rain said. You know me well. I don't want to provoke the Celestial Sect, but Zhan Taiyang must die. Even if he ran to the Celestial Sect, he was destined to die from the moment he set his eyes on Night Sorrow. Qing Emperor nodded. I understand. You are master and disciple. We are husband and wife. I also drank tea from his wife. We will be on the same side in the future, Misty Rain said. You can come back in time and have such a change. Isn't it fate? Qing Emperor exhaled and sighed with emotion. Night Sorrow was in the martial arts arena of the 9 grand floors. Sometimes he would wield the space splitter. Sometimes he would lower his head and ponder. This was because he had to constantly perfect the cultivation of the Great Death Obliteration / cultivation techniques, and absolute arts were not something that could be mastered just because one had a secret cultivation technique. They had to be constantly revised. Night Sorrow's deathly annihilation / grew increasingly powerful as he continued to cultivate himself. As he brandished Space Splitter, a black halo of light rippled outwards. That was the area affected by the deathly annihilation / enveloped by the black halo of light, the target's soul power and space-time around them would be affected. Take shape. After cultivating for 7 days, Night Sorrow managed to form the Great Death Obliteration / However, it was only a form. If he wanted to cultivate it to maturity, it would take some time. In addition, Night Sorrow discovered that the Underworld Stone was a rare treasure. After the death energy was exhausted, it could quickly absorb the energy of heaven and earth to recover. Night Sorrow understood that it was not easy for Datira to get the Underworld Stone. She could also use it herself. Night Sorrow would chat with Datira when he had time. However, he did so behind the scenes. He did not want to be ostentatious or cause any criticism. Datira was very appreciative of Night Sorrow's cultivation results. This was because she knew how difficult it was to cultivate the Great Death Obliteration / The days of cultivation passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Night Sorrow had completely mastered the Great Death Obliteration / At this time he had 2 absolute arts. In addition, after accelerated cultivation under the care of the Samsara Palace, his will of nothingness had reached the peak of the 7-star king. His will of time and space had also reached the late stage of the 6-star king. His strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Sandalwood also came out of seclusion. He had cultivated in the time-accelerated treasure for 5 years. After stabilizing his realm, he had successfully cultivated the leakless true body and refined a drop of soul cultivation fluid. He was anxious because the situation was not stable. He used his will to force the soul cultivation fluid to absorb it. It took him a lot of effort to refine a drop. Absorbing it at high intensity and speed was his limit. Night Sorrow was very happy when Sandalwood came out of seclusion. He held a banquet for him. The banquet was held in the small lakeside house of 7 Night City. Master, it was my incompetence that caused you to be severely injured. I will take revenge for this. Sandalwood looked at Qing Emperor and said, It's nothing. Qing Emperor smiled and shook his head. He was very happy to see his 2 disciples. See it for free forever. Q. After a few more days, I will go and take Ling Tian's dog life. Sandalwood's eyes were filled with killing intent. There's no rush. You're a little impatient. You should discuss this with your junior brother, Qing Emperor said. Mistress, I'm very sorry. I didn't take good care of Master when you weren't around. Sandalwood bowed to Misty Rain. You're still the same. No matter how unhappy Mistress is, you're always respectful. Mistress drank your junior brother's tea, but she didn't drink yours. Misty Rain said. Sandalwood was stunned. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, Junior brother, my tea can't be drunk. Help me brew a pot. Night Sorrow nodded. He brewed a pot of tea and lit an incense. Sandalwood knelt on one knee. He held the tea in front of Misty Rain and said, Mistress, please have some tea. Taking the tea, Mistress of Flying Rain looked at Sandalwood and said, Mistress has been prejudiced against you for countless years. She has made things difficult for you and made things difficult for you. Mistress of Flying Rain feels bad for you. Mistress of Flying Rain, drink this cup of tea and let go of the knot in your heart. Everything is over. After speaking, Heavenly Lord Yufei drank the tea and helped Sandalwood up. Mistress, you're thinking too much. Master adopted me. In my heart, Master is my father. Mistress is my family. I don't mind scolding you. Sandalwood shook his head. After the banquet, Sandalwood showed up at Qing Emperor's imperial court. She defeated martial god Shiyang, who was stationed in the world of reincarnation. Only then did she go into seclusion for the second time. This was a big deal. Blood Emperor Sandalwood fought against Celestial Sect's Heaven Master Puppet for the first time. She defeated martial god Shiyang for the second time. Everyone knew her name even if they didn't want to. Everyone knew that as time passed, Sandalwood would become stronger and stronger. Although the top powers still surrounded the East District of the world of reincarnation, no one dared to act rashly. The Qing Emperor's imperial court was too strong. This was because something had happened to the Qing Emperor. If nothing had happened to the Qing Emperor, the Qing Emperor's imperial court would be invincible in the world of reincarnation. The situation was stable. Night Sorrow cultivated hard. He still remembered the time. The Heaven and Earth Pavilion opened. A year had passed and there were no clues about the clear Tao. Night Sorrow knew that no one had the clear Tao. He had to fight for it and find it. There were many rare treasures in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Therefore, Night Sorrow placed his hopes in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. The Heaven and Earth Pavilion was dangerous. Strength was important. Night Sorrow's original body cultivated and comprehended realms. His doppelganger cultivated battle techniques, studied arrays and created array discs. What made Night Sorrow happy was that the 9 regions world had completed its evolution. It had evolved into a high-level world. Its surface area had expanded without anyone noticing. Its borders and boundaries had expanded infinitely. Now, its surface area was no smaller than the Heaven Mystic world. However, under Night Sorrow's influence, the layout of the 9 regions world did not change much. It was only the outer boundaries that expanded infinitely. Chapter 1306. It has almost all the books you want to read. It's much more stable than ordinary websites. It updates faster and has no advertisements. The world and the sector lord complemented each other. When the 9 regions world became a high-level world, the 9 regions origin became stronger. It could help Night Sorrow's soul cultivation increase at any time. The 9 regions world origin bead was with the doppelganger, so it couldn't help the original body improve the soul power. Night Sorrow's original body had no choice but to communicate with the Samsara Palace and apologize. It's okay. It's within the rules. Just let me know if you need anything. The origin of the Samsara Palace was not impatient. After receiving the 9 regions world origin bead from the doppelganger, Night Sorrow's original body started to cultivate again. Cultivators were divided into chi refinement and body refinement, but they were actually divided into 2 parts. One was the soul, and the other was the body. With the replenishment of energy from the 9 regions world origin bead, Night Sorrow's soul cultivation increased at a terrifying speed. Night Sorrow's doppelganger returned to the 9 layers building and started to study the formation plate, because it was a way to protect himself. When he was tired from cultivation, Night Sorrow sometimes went home. Sometimes, he went to Datura to see Datura in the dark abyss. Datura felt that it was inconvenient to meet in the Dragonbone Palace, so he built a small courtyard not far from the dark abyss. When Night Sorrow went there, they met and talked in the small courtyard. Datura also knew that Night Sorrow was going to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. I don't know if other people will be discriminated against or plotted against when they go to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, but I don't think any life of the way of heaven will deliberately set you up. You have a body of merit, so the consequences of setting you up are very serious. The Heaven and Earth Pavilion is the manifestation of the origin of the black-yellow great world. Advertisement. Datura was a life of the way of heaven, so he knew more than ordinary people. That's fine. I'm not afraid with my ability, Night Sorrow said. No matter what, I will support you. Datura nodded. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. He knew that this was Datura. Although she was a woman, she did things with a heroic spirit that ordinary men did not have. Usually, when she was beside him, she was gentle like water. They were two extremes. After staying for half a day, Night Sorrow left. He was now the core of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. There were still some things that he had to deal with. After returning to the 9 stories building, Night Sorrow saw that the core members of the god-slaying team were all present. Why do you have time to see me? Night Sorrow asked, puzzled. 13th brother, we plan to join the 9 Heavens army and fight alongside the army. Tianyu said. At this time, Tianyu's face was full of heroic spirit. After many years of cultivation and settling down, he was no longer the naive youth who had just taken human form. Why do you have such thoughts? Yimei, do you think so too? Night Sorrow asked. 13th brother, this is not the idea of just Tianyu and I. It is the idea of all the members of the team. The weakest member of the god-slaying team is a high-level saint, and the strongest is not far from comprehending will. So merit points are especially needed. In addition, we also need to use actual combat to train ourselves, Yimei said. Captain, this is the decision of all of us, Hojian said. That's fine. I'll talk to New Lin later. You guys will join the New Lin army and form a team. Night Sorrow nodded in agreement. Captain, the cultivation of the members of the god-slaying team has increased rapidly. I can no longer be the vice-captain. Today, I came to ask if I can join the 9 Heavens army. The other reason is that I want to take over the vice-captain position, Xueling said. It seems that the god-slaying team has changed a lot during the time I haven't asked about you. Tell me about it. Yishan nodded. Xueling then told Xueling his thoughts. He planned to retire and let Long Jin take over as the captain. Long Jin went out with you, but he didn't join the god-slaying team, right? Night Sorrow asked. We've discussed and invited Long Jin to join the god-slaying team. Long Jin has been a member for a long time, Xueling said. I don't want to be the vice-captain. I just want to train with all of you and fight with my brothers. I don't mean anything else. Long Jin was puzzled because he didn't know about this. You're now a 2-star king. In the absence of the captain, you can lead your brothers better. In the god-slaying team, the vice-captain is not a leader. He just leads everyone well. Now you can do that, Xueling said. Yes, the vice-captain exists to take care of his brothers. I can't do it now either. I'll let Yun Huang or Liang Yu take over. They're both peak saint kings. I'm still a bit lacking. They and Long Jin can lead the god-slaying team better, Hojian said. What a big change. We'll hold a banquet at the training ground tonight. I haven't drunk with everyone in a long time. I'll also solve some problems. Manager He, please make the arrangements, Night Sorrow said to Hichio. After Long Jin and the others left, Night Sorrow took out his alchemy cauldron and started making pills. He hadn't prepared resources for the god-slaying team for a while. Commander, they're the elites of the 9 regions world. After they rose, they became the backbone of the 9 regions world, Jun Xuanji said. A previous #BF, they're all my brothers. They have an unyielding fighting spirit in their hearts. What's limiting their achievements might be their talent, but it's not their beliefs or willpower. I'll buy the materials for the spirit accumulation pill and the spirit perception pill. If my brothers work hard, I'll help them, Night Sorrow said. Jun Xuanji nodded. Others might not know, but she knew the relationship between Night Sorrow and the god-slaying team. Back in the 9 regions world, the god-slaying team had followed Night Sorrow to conquer the world. In the evening, a few large tables were set up at the training ground for a banquet. When Night Sorrow arrived, all the members of the god-slaying team stood up. Those who were outside had also returned, including Qin Zhen, Guan Yi, and Ren Tianji. Ren Tianji had also joined later. Brothers, I'm sorry. I haven't asked about the god-slaying team during this time. I'm not a qualified captain, but I won't resign. I'll be responsible for all of you to the end because we'll be brothers for life, Night Sorrow said to the group. What responded to Night Sorrow was the sound of someone knocking on their chest armor. The original vice-captains, Xue Ling and Hou Jian, no longer want to be vice-captains. I won't force them because they're under pressure. They don't dare to be careless when leading their brothers. It's really tiring. In the future, the god-slaying team will have 3 vice-captains. Long Jin, Liang Yu and Yin Huang. The 3 of you will lead everyone to explore the world. Nan Liyue, this is a resource. The usage of the pills inside is very clear. As long as anyone needs it, just give it out. Sovereign King, your goal is to become a sovereign king. What I, Yishang, can do is to help you walk on the path of becoming a sovereign king. Yishang gave Nan Liyue a storage ring and said. The members of the god-slaying team bowed to Night Sorrow. Liang Yu, Yin Huang, the 2 of you have good talent. It's just that you haven't cultivated for long. If you work hard, the path of the king is right in front of you. Night Sorrow said to Liang Yu and Yin Huang. Chapter 1307. Liang Yu and Yin Huang nodded. The 2 of them had worked very hard these past few years. Coupled with their good talent, they had already surpassed the older generation of the 9 regions world and reached the peak of the Saint King realm. The only ones they could not compare to were Tianyu and Yi Mei. There was a difference in talent. Of course, the members of the god-slaying team put in several times more effort than ordinary cultivators. They cultivated in the pagoda of time and space, then went out to fight and stabilize their cultivation. Then they came back and cultivated again. It was a cycle of high intensity. The members of the god-slaying team also knew that their current achievements mostly came from Night Sorrow's support, the pagoda of time and space, and the unlimited supply of resources. Others didn't have such conditions. Hard work came second when they had conditions. It's been a long time since I drank with my brothers. It's not that I've forgotten everyone, and it's not that I'm king and don't want to drink with everyone. There's just too many things. These years, one thing after another has happened. I can't stop at all, Night Sorrow explained. Brother 13, we all understand you. All these years we worked hard to cultivate. Part of it was for our personal achievements, but most of it was because we wanted to share some of your burdens. We can still kill enemies together, Tianyu said. I understand. Right now, my original body is cultivating in the Samsara Palace in the world of Samsara. I need the pagoda of time and space to speed up. When I can give it to everyone, I'll take it out, Night Sorrow explained. 13. You're the pillar of the 9 regions world. Your achievements will determine the status of the 9 regions world. So you have to take care of yourself first, Guan Yi said to Night Sorrow. Senior brother, are you used to the dark abyss? Night Sorrow asked. Used to it? Haha. You can ask the Qinzhen. In terms of status, we are respected, but during training it's torture, Guan Yi said with a bitter smile. An old man looked at the 2 of us and gave us a big leather whip. If we didn't do well, he would give us a big leather whip. However, after we cultivated, we were treated very well. The commander of the army we stayed in was very polite to us. Qinzhen said with a smile. That's for your own good. It's difficult for others to have this opportunity. Whether you 2 want to stay there or come back, it's up to you, Night Sorrow said with a smile. He understood that this was all arranged by Datura. First message while drinking, Night Sorrow was very happy. Because of his good mood, Lei Bao, Lei Zheng, and Hou Jian were all drunk by Night Sorrow. Dizzy from drinking, Night Sorrow staggered back to the 9 grand floors to rest. Night Sorrow went to rest, but there were still people in the hall of the 9 grand floors. Misty Rain was talking to her children, and Summer City was there as well. Imperial Mother, Junior Marshal Brother doesn't look like a proper person. What His Highness? He's drunk so much, Qinghuan said with a smile. He's actually still young. It's good for him to relax sometimes, it's good for him to settle down, Misty Rain said. It's not like that. Those 40 or so people are His Highness brothers. When His Highness was still a venerable, they followed His Highness to conquer the profound mysteries realm and the nether realm. They all made great contributions. In His Highness' heart, he hopes that these brothers can achieve great things. Today he saw that these people are doing well, so he's happy, said Xiacheng. This is true temperament. It's rare and precious. However, it's good to have a group of brothers who can drink whenever they want. Misty Rain said with a smile. Sister-in-law, actually Summer City admires His Highness the most. With so many brothers and countless battles, no one has fallen. This is very difficult, Summer City said. I have to admire this. When Junior Marshal Brother led the army, the casualties were the least. He crippled more than 10 troops of the Dark Army and destroyed 2 troops of the Red Emperor's empire. All our losses added up to only 1 army, which is less than 1/10 of the enemy's. This is also the biggest reason why Junior Marshal Brother is respected in the Qing Emperor's empire. Qing Yuan nodded. Learn from him. Although you might not be able to do so well, at least have the heart to improve, Misty Rain said to her daughter. Imperial Mother has changed too. She didn't scold us in the past, Qing Yuan said to Misty Rain. If you don't listen, then scold. There's no harm in learning from your eldest senior marshal brother and little junior marshal brother, Misty Rain said. After sleeping for a while, Night Sorrow woke up early. Then he cultivated in the martial arts practice field and cultivated his ultimate skills. As the original body's soul power in the space-time treasure pagoda increased, the power of Night Sorrow's ultimate skills increased again. The strength of a high-level cultivator was largely dependent on their soul power. Why was the Divine Night Monarch the overlord of the 9 Firmament World Group? Why did Datira's strength soar after using the soul cultivation liquid? It was because he refined the soul cultivation liquid and increased his soul power. With a strong soul power, the power of many battle skills would increase. The 9-domain world's origin emitted energy that could increase soul power for Night Sorrow to cultivate. Naturally, Night Sorrow's soul power increased rapidly. Monarch strength, Misty Rain said as she watched Night Sorrow cultivate. Even if he doesn't use his ultimate skills, his normal attacks are at my level. Qing Yuan, who had been by Misty Rain's side all this time, said. Yes, if he reaches the Star King realm, he will be invincible below the Sky Master level. When he is at the Monarch realm, he will have hope to fight against the Sky Master level giants. However, that will depend on his own ultimate skills. The power of his trump card determines the strength of his combat power. Your father is very good at recruiting disciples. Sandalwood is invincible among those at the same level. This guy can fight above his level. Very good. Misty Rain nodded. She was now thinking whether she should stop Night Sorrow from going to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. After cultivating for a while, Night Sorrow made tea. After brewing it, before Night Sorrow could bring it over, Misty Rain and Qing Yuan came over. Mistress, Senior Marshal Sister, sit. Heart-cleansing tea, it's not bad, Night Sorrow said. Heart-cleansing tea is not bad. There are many famous teas in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, but it's not as good as yours, Qing Yuan said. Actually, I still have some good teas. However, it's only good when I use it with cultivation, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Better than heart-cleansing tea? Don't joke around. Qing Yuan looked at Night Sorrow and said, Soul-nurturing tea can nourish the soul. Senior Marshal Sister, don't you think it's the best tea? Night Sorrow said. Soul-nurturing tea? Is it related to the soul-nurturing liquid? Qing Yuan looked at Night Sorrow and asked in surprise. Yes, it's related to the soul-nurturing liquid. The difference is that the soul-nurturing liquid can only be used by monarchs, but the soul-nurturing tea can be drunk by anyone. Therefore, I'm drinking the tea to cultivate now. I'll leave some for Mistress and Senior Marshal Sister, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Sigh, you rascal. If you didn't have a few virtuous wives who are as beautiful as jade, even I would want to give Qing Yuan to you. Heavenly Monarch Yufei said. Mistress, you're joking, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Have Qing Yuan as his wife. Night Sorrow felt that it was torture. Chapter 1308. Qing Yuan was very outstanding. She was beautiful, had a good figure, and had a good temperament, but her personality was a bit strange. Night Sorrow even thought that whoever married Qing Wan in the future would be unlucky and would be tortured to death. Either she had a bad temper, or she would be sick of people. It would be very uncomfortable. It was not worth it to be tortured in life just for a moment of happiness. What kind of eyes are you looking at? You don't like me, but I don't like you. Qing Wan glared at Night Sorrow. Ha ha. Night Sorrow could only laugh. He could not say that he liked her, nor could he say that he did not like her. Night Sorrow, to tell you the truth, your master and I do not agree with you going because it is too dangerous, so don't be too tired from training. In 10,000 years, do you think we can't solve your master's problem? We definitely can. Misty Rain said. When I was young, I was separated from my parents and lived in Bamboo Garden Village. I was a hunter and relied on my father Gugu for survival. However, my father Gugu told me that one must be responsible for everything. Later on, when I embarked on the journey of cultivation, I understood another principle. Being responsible for everything is a character, and at the same time, it is also one's nature. Only by doing this can one's heart be flawless. On the matter of master, I feel guilty in my heart. Although I have lived for a short time, I have never done anything that I cannot face. Therefore, I can face everything, face myself, and face my heart. Night Sorrow did not refute Misty Rain's words, but only spoke of his own philosophy. Misty Rain looked at Night Sorrow and did not know how to refute. Junior brother, we can solve the matter of Father Emperor. It is not in the short term. Qing Wan said. On this matter, senior sister Qing Wan and senior brother Qing Lin did not blame me, but I can't live with myself. When I do things, as long as there is a chance, I do not want to give up. This way, I will never regret it. I will never regret it because of my own hesitation and missing out on something. Master's wife, senior sister, you all drink tea. I will go and train. Night Sorrow carried Lai Kong and went to the martial arts practice field. What kind of stubbornness is this? Qing Wan muttered. This is not stubbornness. Qing Wan is right. This is character and quality. In fact, the deepest feeling I've had these days is to understand some quality and spirit. What your junior brother has is what many people lack. I don't know how to deal with this matter. Misty Rain sighed and said. After that, Misty Rain told Qing Wan what Qing Emperor felt from Yi Qingyan and Yi Yujun. Imperial Father is right. Because of our high birth status, we have become dependent. Mother, I will work hard in the future. When Qing Wan heard Misty Rain's words, she felt a little embarrassed. Every day, Night Sorrow would study the absolute arts. He would alternate between the two absolute arts without conflicting with each other. As his soul power increased, the Great Emperor Samsara / and Great Death Annihilation / became more and more powerful. However, as time passed, the opening of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion was getting closer and closer. Night Sorrow was also very confident. Although the will of nothingness hadn't evolved, the will of time and space had improved by leaps and bounds. It had entered the 7-star King realm, and entered the High King realm. This had allowed Night Sorrow's battle strength to increase once again. If cultivating the body made Night Sorrow's strength tyrannical, and cultivating the chi of nothingness made his chi tyrannical, then the advancement of the will of time and space increased his speed. In a battle, speed was one of the most important factors to victory. It was also a life-saving method. Misty Rain also noticed Night Sorrow's improvement, and immediately felt that the heavens were fair. The harder one worked, the luckier one would be. This was very suitable for Night Sorrow. After finishing another cultivation, Night Sorrow went to Misty Rain and said, Mistress, my strength has improved again. Can you not stop me? Misty Rain said, Mistress, I don't know what to say. If it's just a clone, then it's fine. But going to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion requires the original body. My original body and clone will go together. If we have to fight, then we'll cut off all means of retreat. Night Sorrow's determination was very strong. In fact, even without this restriction, he would have made this decision. This was because he had two skills. His original body and clone could use different skills at the same time. His original body could use the Death Destruction / and his clone could use the Great Emperor Reincarnation /. When the two skills attacked together, the power and lethality were shocking. Night Sorrow felt that whether it was his original body or his clone, they both had the power to fight against an overlord. If they used the two skills at the same time, there was a chance they could kill an overlord. Okay, then let's gamble. This is Mistress's protective treasure. Mistress will remove the ownership. Take it. Overlord Yufei took out a shield that was shining with green light. No need. My original body and clone both have protective treasures. Master also helped me make the 9 heavy armor. I don't lack anything. Night Sorrow quickly rejected. Do you really have it? You don't have to be so polite with Mistress. Overlord Yufei looked at Night Sorrow and said, my clone has the dragon cauldron. My original body also uses a defensive treasure, the time pagoda. Night Sorrow waved his arm, and the dragon cauldron appeared behind him. Seeing that Night Sorrow had a protective treasure, Overlord Yufei nodded and didn't say anything else. She couldn't stop Night Sorrow's belief. Night Sorrow had done everything he could. Feeling that it was about time, Night Sorrow's original body stopped cultivating and greeted Samsara Palace. You have a lot of room for improvement now. You haven't reached a bottleneck, have you? The origin of Samsara Palace appeared. It was a kind elder. I also want to continue cultivating, but there are some things that I have to do. This is my responsibility. As long as Night Sorrow is alive, I will definitely do what I promised you. Night Sorrow said, young man, tell me what you have to do. Actually, according to your strength, you will have the capital to settle down when you cultivate to the monarch realm. With the supreme attribute and strong soul power, the world's most powerful giants can't hurt you. The weapon spirit of Samsara Palace, or rather, the origin of Samsara world, said, I want to go to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. I want to see if there is a Tao in the 100 worlds of Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Night Sorrow told the origin of Samsara world the reason. Heaven and Earth Pavilion. That is the root of Xianhuang world. It is very complicated. You will be in great danger if you go there. Do you know why this Heaven and Earth Pavilion opens every once in a while? The origin of Samsara world looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Forever, free of charge. Night Sorrow shook his head. He really didn't know about these things. Kill some and cultivate some. This is the way the origin of Xianhuang world does things. People from other worlds don't dare to go there because it will really destroy them and arrange difficulties that are hard to resist. However, you won't have a big problem. You have the body of merit, so it should have a laissez-faire attitude towards you. It won't target you. However, you have to remember that because you have the body of merit and supreme attribute, it may have a request for you. You don't have to agree because it won't directly touch you. The origin of Samsara world said. Request. Senior, this can't be. There are a lot of giants in Xianhuang world. What would it ask of me? Night Sorrow said. You don't understand. You are too young and have little experience. It's not that you have little experience. It's just that there are some things that people don't know. The body of merit is very important. Go. Strive to be the best. The origin of Samsara world said. Chapter 1309. It's my responsibility this time. I'll come back to cultivate after I'm done, Night Sorrow said. This is the power of the origin. If the origin of Heaven and Earth Pavilion really turns against you, you'll definitely die. This power of the origin can protect your original soul. In this way, you'll have a chance to reincarnate or rebuild your body. The origin of reincarnation waved its hand, and a power of the origin entered Night Sorrow's body. Thank you, Senior. Then I'll leave some flesh and blood. Because my cultivation method is special, my body is indestructible. As long as I have the power of the soul, I can rebuild my body. Night Sorrow waved his hand and cut off one of his arms. Then the energy in his body exploded, and another arm grew out. Good. In this way, as long as your soul isn't destroyed, you'll never have to worry about dying. The origin of reincarnation sent out energy to wrap Night Sorrow's arm and hide it in the void. Senior, I'll leave now. I still have some time in the reincarnation palace. I'll come back to cultivate later, Night Sorrow said. Okay, this place is open to you at any time. But you have to fight for your own cultivation time. When you stand in front of the reincarnation palace and shout out how much you want, others have to give it to you. That's what you're capable of. The origin of Reincarnation Palace nodded. Then Night Sorrow left the Reincarnation Palace and took back the reincarnation token. Time accelerated by 2 years, which was equivalent to 40 years of cultivation. 3 times the consumption meant 120 years. Night Sorrow's original 600 years of cultivation time in the Reincarnation Palace still had 480 years left. After leaving the Reincarnation Palace, Night Sorrow walked toward the teleportation formation. Before he reached the teleportation formation, Night Sorrow was surrounded by people from the Celestial Sect. 6 or 7 of them were high-level King Realm cultivators. Kill. The people of the Celestial Sect started killing without a second word. This was because Ling Tian had given his disciples an order to kill Yishang on sight. Night Sorrow kept attacking with the Void Extreme Kill, Emperor Reincarnation / and Soul Destruction / In just a moment, these King Realm cultivators were killed by Night Sorrow. After collecting their storage rings and weapons, Yishang went to the transmission formation. Although there were other people from the Celestial Sect, Yishang had already gone to the transmission formation. At this time, the guards of the Samsara Palace had already unsheathed their sabers. Whoever fought in the transmission formation would be killed. The interrealm transmission formation could not be damaged. Looking at Yishang's true body, Heavenly Monarch Yufei said, "The energy contained in your true body is close to that of a monarch. I cultivate my body. My original body is stronger than my clone." Night Sorrow nodded. Then Night Sorrow took out the Samsara. He wanted to upgrade the Samsara. Although it was a King Realm weapon, there was still a lot of room for improvement. In 4 days, Night Sorrow completed the upgrade of the Samsara and made it a top King Realm weapon. After getting used to the effect of the Samsara, Night Sorrow felt that it was enough. Then Night Sorrow decided to go home and spend some time with his family. After resting for a month, Night Sorrow returned to the 9 floors. He planned to go out because the Heaven and Earth Pavilion was about to open. Before Night Sorrow left, Tang Bo arrived. He came to inform Night Sorrow that the Heaven and Earth Pavilion would open in half a month. Night Sorrow decided to leave. "Night Sorrow, can't you not go?" Misty Rain asked. "Don't worry, mistress. There won't be any problems. I have some backup plans," Night Sorrow said. "All right then, let's go. Safety is the most important thing. Remember, we have time. It doesn't matter if we don't get it," Misty Rain said. Then Night Sorrow left and teleported to the world of Samsara with Tang Bo. This time Night Sorrow didn't bring anyone with him. He didn't bring Summer City or Ice Chilin. Tang Bo brought his guards. When the people of the Celestial Sect saw Night Sorrow, they didn't do anything because Tang Bo's guards were monarchs. Vian and Night Sorrow and the others teleported from Samsara City to Xianhuang City through the teleportation formation. At this time, Xianhuang City was very lively because a grand event of the Xianhuang Great World was about to take place. The top forces of the Xianhuang Great World all sent people to participate. A large number of cultivators from the surrounding worlds also came. Night Sorrow went to Tang Bo's mansion. Tang Bo and the others also wanted to participate because they also wanted to fight. For the people of the Xianhuang Great World, entering the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth was an opportunity. Although there was a possibility of death, they still had to fight. All the cultivators had this opportunity. Tang Yi and Tang Bo went, but Tang Xian didn't because he was a monarch. There was no need for him to fight. However, even if acquaintances went in, they couldn't form a team in the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth. After entering, they would be swept away by the energy of the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth. It was hard to say which world they would enter, or where they would land. Space magic treasures couldn't carry lives. Even the origin of Samsara could detect it. That was to say, entering the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth depended on one's own ability. For Night Sorrow, this was his favorite mode. Most of the time he flew alone. It was more casual, and he didn't have to worry about anything. There was no information to check in the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth, nor any experience to learn from. Every time someone went in, it was different. It was full of unknowns and challenges. Night Sorrow didn't feel afraid. Instead, he felt excited. Night Sorrow wanted to fight. He had a backup plan. Even if something happened to his original body, he wouldn't be doomed eternally. His soul wouldn't die and return to the world of samsara. He could rely on that arm to regenerate his body. It just needed some time. Tang Bo and Tang Yi were a little uneasy. Night Sorrow, aren't you worried? Tang Yi looked at Night Sorrow and asked, "Why should I be worried? Since I've decided to go, I'll face it calmly. The result is the same whether I'm worried or not," Night Sorrow said. After resting for a few days, Night Sorrow and the other two set out. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth was located in the south of Xianhuang City. After flying for a while, the three of them arrived at the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth was a pavilion with dozens of floors. The upper half of it was in the clouds. It had an aura that suppressed everything. It was magnificent and majestic. Normally, the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth is a very small pavilion, but no one can get close to it. It only becomes like this when it's open, Tang Yi explained. At this time, Tang Jianfeng appeared in front of the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth and announced some rules. He was allowed to use all kinds of magic treasures. He was allowed to bring his doppelganger with him, but the doppelganger would be killed if he went alone. Even if he hid his cultivation, he would be killed. This was an iron rule that forbade Heaven Masters from entering. Brother Yi, take care. After we go in, no one knows what will happen. We can only protect ourselves first. With so many people going in, we might run into each other. If we don't have any friendship with each other, we'll be enemies, Tang Yi said. The same goes for you too. If you think you can't do it, you can hide in the space treasure and wait until the opening time is over, Night Sorrow said. Same for Brother Yi. Tang Yi nodded. Night Sorrow shook his head. He was different. He had a reason to fight. Chapter 1310. It was the only authentic one, and the rest were all pirated copies. Tang Jianfeng then emphasized the mortality rate. Half of the people would die, and those who didn't come out after 3 months would have a 50% chance of dying. There was a chance to withdraw in the first 3 months, but after 3 months, the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth would close and send them out. After everything was said, Tang Jianfeng asked all the participating cultivators to wait in front of the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth for the inspection of the Xianhuang light. In addition, they had to pay 100 Saint Spirit Stones. Regardless of whether they were qualified to enter or not, the 100 Saint Spirit Stones were the registration fee. This was a rule set by the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth a long time ago. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth needed energy to operate, and so did the Xianhuang light. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth was called the Xianhuang light. 100 Saint Spirit Stones was nothing to cultivators above the Saint King realm, but there were many people, so it was still a large sum of Saint Spirit Stones. Many people came to participate, numbering in the tens of thousands. There are so many people who aren't afraid of death, Night Sorrow muttered. Everyone has different thoughts. Many people go in with the idea of the first 3 months. They will retreat when there is danger, and they won't die. It's a journey of opportunity. My brother and I will go in to see the situation. If we can't handle it, we will also retreat early, Tang Yi said. Actually, many people think the same way. If they don't reach a bottleneck, go crazy, or have a lot of confidence, they won't last for more than 3 months, Tang Bo added. While the three of them were chatting, the participants walked to the square one after another. The officials of Xianhuang City collected the Saint Spirit Stones one by one. Yi Shang and the other two also walked towards the plaza. Tang Bo didn't even need Yi Shang to fork out the Holy Spirit Stones, directly paying the fees for the three of them. Then, the three of them went to a corner of the plaza to wait for the arrival of the mysterious yellow light. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about what would happen after entering, but he was a little nervous now. He was worried that the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth wouldn't give him a chance. He was afraid that the Xianhuang light would reject him because no one knew how the Xianhuang light judged whether one was qualified or not. Soon, everyone paid the Saint Spirit Stones and went to the square. At this time, Tang Jianfeng bowed to the Pavilion of Heaven and Earth. As Tang Jianfeng bowed, the Heaven and Earth Pavilion reacted. An illusory energy vortex appeared in the surroundings. Then, a golden light appeared in the sky, enveloping the entire plaza and landing on everyone standing in the plaza. Night Sorrow discovered that this golden light was seeping into his body, enveloping his head and divine sea. Night Sorrow slowly felt the characteristics of the golden light. Because his body was Bufang's true body, the golden light did not seep into his body. At this moment, almost everyone was in a state of confusion, sitting cross-legged in meditation. Night Sorrow was still standing. After looking around, he also sat down cross-legged on the ground. He did not want to stand out. After sitting down cross-legged, the golden light did not invade Night Sorrow's body. This was the tyrannical power of not leaking true body. However, the golden light was getting stronger. The intensity of the golden light in the area where Night Sorrow was far greater than in other areas. This had already attracted the attention of some people, including Tang Jianfeng. Because Night Sorrow was his old friend's disciple, Tang Jianfeng had paid more attention to him from the beginning. He knew that Night Sorrow had not lost consciousness. Night Sorrow had sat down, but he did not close his eyes. He was still awake. In addition, the sky was filled with intense golden light. It was impossible for Tang Jianfeng not to notice. Night Sorrow did not feel anything. He did not feel that the golden light was harmful. He stopped circulating the energy in his body, and stopped the operation of not leaking true body. At this moment, the golden light entered Night Sorrow's body and swam around. However, when the golden light reached Night Sorrow's divine sea, it started to spin. It did not invade directly. The periphery of Night Sorrow's divine sea was also surrounded by golden light. It could even be said that the golden light was even denser than the heaven and earth pavilions. It was the light of merit. After circling Night Sorrow's body twice, the golden light retreated. However, it left a ray of light on Night Sorrow's arm. The others were still checking. Some people had a ray of golden light on their arms, while others did not. Seeing this, Night Sorrow knew that he had passed. Those with golden light on their bodies should be marks. After 15 minutes, the checking was completed. Tang Jianfeng stood on the high platform of the square. Those with golden light marks can enter the heaven and earth pavilion to take the trial. Those without marks are not qualified to enter. Please leave. If you enter rashly, you will be mercilessly killed. Night Sorrow turned his head and smiled at Tang Bo and Tang Yi, who also had marks on their bodies. All three of them were qualified to participate. The cultivators who had lost their qualifications were full of regret. However, they could only leave. If they dared to step into the heaven and earth pavilion without being recognized, they would be killed. Who could resist? The heaven and earth pavilion was the manifestation of the black-yellow great world's will, and its will was the origin will of the black-yellow great world. If the origin will of a great world could kill a heaven master, then killing a monarch or a monarch was nothing. Leave, they could only leave. Although they had lost 100 Saint Spirit Stones, no one dared to go against the original will of the black-yellow great world. At least, no one dared to do so in the black-yellow great world. Then the doors of the heaven and earth pavilion opened. Two doors that were hundreds of meters tall and wide opened. Inside the doors was a rich rolling energy. Behind the energy was an unknown world. Even those who had entered before did not know what it was because each time they entered, it was different. There were no clues to be found, and there was no experience to talk about. You can enter now. If you don't want to continue within 3 months, you can shout to leave. The heaven and earth pavilion will send you out. If you don't come out after 3 months, then everything will depend on your own ability. Everything will be up to fate. Now you can enter, Tang Jianfeng said to all the participants. If it was a small passage, it would be troublesome for thousands of people to enter. However, the doors of the heaven and earth pavilion were big enough. Therefore, it would not take too much time for everyone to enter. Night Sorrow looked at the people who entered. In an instant, they were wrapped in energy and disappeared before everyone's eyes. No one could see what was going on. Brother Yi, you can leave within 3 months. Remember to be careful. I will leave first. Tang Bo cupped his hands at Night Sorrow. Then his body flashed and he entered the rolling energy. The rolling energy was very terrifying. However, the golden light on the people who entered worked. It turned into a protective shield to block the attack of the terrifying energy. Night Sorrow estimated that the energy could definitely crush king and sovereign. In other words, without the protective golden light, No one could enter. Once they entered, they would be killed. Tangy nodded at Night Sorrow. Then her body flashed and she also entered the rolling energy of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Night Sorrow held Samsara tightly behind him. Then he stomped his feet and flew toward the door of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. The moment Night Sorrow's body approached the rolling energy, the golden light on his arm turned into a protective golden light and blocked the attack of the energy. The energy was biting cold and violent. If it was not for the protective golden light, Night Sorrow felt that he would not be able to withstand it. Because he had comprehended the space-time willpower, Night Sorrow felt that outside the protective golden light, space-time was constantly changing. The 10th update has arrived. Thank you to the Great Demon King, and for your support. Chapter 13:11. The space-time transition was like a teleportation array. After a while, the golden light that wrapped around Night Sorrow dissipated, and turned back into a golden light that wrapped around Night Sorrow's arm. After Yishang steadied himself, he discovered that he was in a world with verdant hills and clear waters. However, Yishan didn't relax because everything was filled with unknowns. Who knew if some powerful opponent would suddenly appear? He could not be afraid, but he had to always be respectful of the unknown. Only when one was alive could one do things. Caution was one of the most important factors in life. Many geniuses had fallen because of recklessness and carelessness on their path. Yishang activated the 9-region origin pearl and began to investigate. His soul power was already comparable to a monarch's. With the help of the 9-region origin pearl, his probing ability should be above a monarch's and below a titan's. Night Sorrow had thought about refining the soul cultivation liquid, but he did not take the risk. His soul power could support his cultivation and use his secret techniques. After all, the energy in his body was still at the peak of the 7-star king level. If he was injured by the soul cultivation liquid, it would not be worth it. After activating his soul power, everything within 1,000 miles was within his probing range. No danger could escape his probing. During his probing, Night Sorrow flew forward. He had not come to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion to sightsee. He had come to find Ming Dao. In a low-level space, the possibility of Ming Dao's existence was lower, but there were other natural treasures. No one knew the exact situation inside the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, but the general layout was clear. Night Sorrow knew that when he first entered, it was a low-level world. The first level was filled with countless low-level small spaces. They could not even be called worlds. Only when certain conditions were met would one enter the next level. This condition was hard to say. It could be a spatial tunnel or a teleportation tunnel. It could also be that there were only a certain number of people left in and out of the space, such as half or even less. After advancing for half a day, Night Sorrow did not find any opponents. He had collected some materials, but they were all low level. The scenery in this space was good, but the energy was not dense enough. It could not nurture high-level natural treasures. The time inside the Heaven and Earth Pavilion was the same as outside. When evening came, the sky darkened. Night Sorrow took out his animal skin tent and planned to rest. Night Sorrow knew that entering the Heaven and Earth Pavilion was not something that could be done in a day or two. He had to settle down and take it one step at a time. Night Sorrow had just finished setting up his tent when 2 cultivators entered Night Sorrow's probing range. 2 7-star king. It was already too late for Night Sorrow to dodge. The opponent's flying speed was extremely fast, and the gap between their detect was useless. In other words, the opponent's flying speed instantly surpassed the distance that Night Sorrow could detect. Yi Shuang waited to see what the two of them were up to. If they were just passing by, then they would mind their own business. But if they wanted to kill, he really didn't care about 2 7-star sovereign kings. Moments later, the 2 7-star sovereigns arrived near Yishan. Hand over your storage rings, leave your weapons and get lost. The man with the heavy sword on his back growled at Night Sorrow. We're all here to look for opportunities. There's no need to be so aggressive. There's no enmity between us, said Yishang. He didn't want to kill more people if he could. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Pay to avoid disaster or die. Make your choice. The other man drew his battle sword. I didn't want to kill, but you are courting death. Die. Night Sorrow's energy surged. His doppelganger appeared. It was the man who spoke after the death destruction slash. While the doppelganger attacked, Night Sorrow used the Great Emperor Samsara slash to attack the other person. He did not want to waste time probing. He had to maintain his peak condition here. Unnecessary consumption was to be avoided. As the black and purple halos rippled, the two 7-star king were enveloped. They lost the ability to resist and dodge. One man and one woman. The two unlucky fellows fell. They were bleeding. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. I didn't want to kill, but you are courting death. Night Sorrow's doppelganger merged with his original body. He took the two storage rings and weapons. Then he took the tent and moved to another place. Night Sorrow started to set up camp in another place. After making a pot of tea, Night Sorrow pondered. He knew that he was not the only one in this space. There were others. As for why there were companions, he knew it was not strange. Many cultivators in the black-yellow great world knew each other. It was normal to have friends. Maybe it was a personal friendship. Maybe it was an alliance between sections. Maybe it was a loose cultivator who was afraid of the core disciples of big sects and was willing to follow behind them. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow continued his exploration. With the will of time and space, Night Sorrow's flying speed was very fast. He did not cause too much energy fluctuation. As Night Sorrow's flying speed was fast, his exploration efficiency was high. If there were materials for alchemy and refining, Night Sorrow would collect them. On the afternoon of the second day, Night Sorrow faced another battle. It was also a 7-star king. Night Sorrow did not evade. He still walked his own path. Night Sorrow did not fight, but it did not mean that others would not fight. This 7-star king started to chase after Night Sorrow. He was very fast. Night Sorrow could not get rid of him, even if he did not speed up. Exhaling, Night Sorrow stopped. He turned around and looked at the cultivator who had caught up with him. Do you have to fight? The black-robed man did not say anything. He attacked with his sword. In his eyes, Night Sorrow was just a lucky cultivator who had a high cultivation level at a young age. Most people had high cultivation levels but low abilities and poor fighting strength. Seeing this man attack, Night Sorrow was a little angry. He did not want to fight, but the other party thought that he was easy to bully. Then you can die. Yi Shang waved his hand and directly used the Void Extreme Kill. Following the explosion of the purple halo, half of the man's sword was instantly annihilated. His body was also blasted back. The will of time and space burst forth. Night Sorrow charged forward and followed up with Heavenly Wasteland Kill. Void Extreme Kill and Heavenly Wasteland Kill were mystic skills. Although they were not absolute arts, they were still very powerful. The main reason was that Night Sorrow's mystic skills were based on the highest and highest attributes. They were not something that ordinary people could block. Time was affected. The black-robed man's block was half a beat slower. Night Sorrow's Samsara directly attacked the man's chest. Following the burst of energy from Samsara, the black-robed man's life force was taken away by Night Sorrow's time acceleration. At the same time, Samsara also released purple energy that rushed into his spirit sea. The Samsara stone was a strange stone in the world. It had a mysterious energy that could attack the soul. While the man was in a daze, Night Sorrow's Samsara shook and attacked the man's spirit sea. Chapter 13:12. After killing the man in black, Night Sorrow felt that he needed to change his strategy. He could not avoid fighting, because even if he did not want to kill, others would treat him as a fat sheep. Night Sorrow decided to kill. There was no need to be polite, because there were no kind people here. They all saw their opponents as resources and materials. After collecting the storage ring of the man in black, Night Sorrow continued forward. For other cultivators, killing their opponents would give them cultivation resources, but Night Sorrow did not care about these people's cultivation resources. He had a lot of resources. After going to the Limitless Soul region, and the Ice Dragon realm, Night Sorrow had a lot of resources. In terms of temperament, Night Sorrow did not like to be killed indiscriminately, but as he explored, battles happened frequently. However, no one was a threat to Night Sorrow because they were not strong enough. Now, whether it was Night Sorrow's original body or his doppelganger, they were all comparable to monarchs. There were too few monarchs here. They were not willing to take the risk. They lacked enlightenment, not resources. It was not that they did not lack resources, but that it was not worth risking their lives. Night Sorrow was not afraid of monarchs, let alone some kings. If someone approached him with bad intentions, Night Sorrow would kill without saying anything. As he fought, Night Sorrow felt that his state of mind was much better. This made him understand another principle. It was important to cultivate one's heart and morals, but he could not suppress himself too much. That was not in line with the heavens. He just had to be himself and let nature take its course. Everyone's state of mind was different at different times. Sometimes one needed to be steady, and sometimes one needed to be sharp. After changing his state of mind, Night Sorrow did not rest. He directly patrolled this space world and killed anyone who approached him. 6 days. In 6 days, Night Sorrow had pretty much finished exploring this small spatial world. He had also killed quite a few people. Among them, there were 2 smart fellows who felt that they were no match for Night Sorrow when he didn't use any of his ultimate techniques. They immediately called out and left the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. Of course, Night Sorrow didn't use his ultimate skill, but the opponent's strength was also one of the main reasons. Night Sorrow didn't know what the requirements for entering the next world were, but that was all he could do for now. He hadn't found a spatial tunnel, a teleportation circle, or an energy channel, so he could only wait. Night Sorrow guessed that there was a limit to the number of people. When the number of people reached a certain level, they would enter the next space. As for how many people had squeezed into this space, Night Sorrow wasn't sure. However, he knew that even if he didn't meet them, he didn't mind wasting time. After 3 months, some people would leave for fear of death. If they didn't leave, it would be a chaotic battle. Whoever met them would be killed. There was no hurry. Night Sorrow wasn't in a hurry at all. He was just waiting. Night Sorrow was constantly on the move every day. Whoever attacked him, whoever was hostile, he would kill them. Half a month later, when Yi Shang was about to take a break, he returned to his original state. The golden light that wrapped around his arm changed again. It protected Yi Shang's body and began to pull him into the void. Night Sorrow didn't resist. He knew that he had passed the first round of tests and was about to enter the next world. The golden light wrapped around Night Sorrow and entered the void. The void was full of overbearing and abnormal energy. However, in just a moment, Night Sorrow entered a new space. Another new challenge. Looking at the golden light that returned to his arm, Night Sorrow tidied up his robe, carried samsara, and began to fly. Night Sorrow didn't know what was going on in this space, but there was nothing wrong with being careful. Others had a way out, but he didn't. Because if others felt that they couldn't take it, they could just shout out and withdraw. However, he wanted to fight to the end. The higher the level, the greater the chance of obtaining the enlightened Tao. Genuine first hair Night Sorrow flew in the space, collecting resources and killing demonic beasts that blocked his way. Although the possibility of the enlightened Tao in this space wasn't high, he still wanted to look for it. At this moment, Ling Tian knew that Night Sorrow had left. He was thinking about what to do. Ling Tian was very clear about what Night Sorrow was doing in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. However, he couldn't interfere now. After thinking about it, he arranged for Elder Jia to bring the giant puppet to wait in the profound yellow world. As long as Night Sorrow appeared, they would kill him at all costs. Ling Tian was very clear that Night Sorrow was a threat, a huge threat. Furthermore, he knew that if Night Sorrow obtained the enlightened Tao and the Qing Emperor recovered, then a huge disaster would come for him. The Qing Emperor was very powerful. Last time, Ling Tian used the giant puppet, the other 3 elders, and Zhan Taiyang to injure the Qing Emperor severely. If the Qing Emperor recovered, together with Sandalwood and Misty Rain, the Qing Emperor's dynasty would be the most powerful force in the world of samsara. In addition, the Red Emperor and Datura were allies of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. As for the Celestial sect, there were some trump cards that he couldn't use. Therefore, killing Night Sorrow was the best way. After making some arrangements, Ling Tian went to the Black Fiend Valley and the Martial God Palace. He told them about the current situation. He meant that since Knight Sorrow wasn't there, the Qing Emperor's dynasty's organization would be less strict, and they could start a war. The Black Fiend Valley and the Martial God Palace both wanted to attack the Qing Emperor's dynasty, but they felt that they weren't strong enough. In the end, Ling Tian said that the three forces could go to the Burning Sky Tower and ask them to join the siege on the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Then the three of them went to the Burning Sky Tower. After promising a lot of benefits, the Burning Sky Tower's owner agreed to join forces. The four forces joined forces and pressed on the Qing Emperor's dynasty again. After hearing the news, the Qing Emperor's dynasty held a meeting. In this case, the Qing Emperor's dynasty could only fight because there was no way to retreat. Retreat meant that they would fall. The Ninth Heaven Army, the Green Scale Army, and the Green Phoenix Army were all ready for war. After hearing the news, the Dark Abyss Army, the Bloodthirsty Army, and the reorganized Devil Blood Army also joined the battle. The Red Emperor didn't hesitate and sent the Sky Heart Army and the Chiwa Army to fight. The three forces in the eastern district of the world of Samsara set up their armies and were ready to fight the outsiders. The Red Emperor's empire sent messengers to the Qing Emperor's dynasty to ask for Knight Sorrow's opinion on the current situation. After realizing that Knight Sorrow wasn't around, everyone felt that they could only fight on their own. This was a war of attrition. They wanted to see who would give in first and who would give in first. Misty Rain was currently in charge of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. She could only make arrangements for the war step by step. Mother, they probably know that junior brother isn't around. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to start a war, the Green Phoenix said. We don't know when the Heaven and Earth Pavilion will open. It's hard to say when Knight Sorrow will come back. When he's around, the Qing Emperor's dynasty has the advantage. Now that he's not around, we have to stabilize the situation. Xuanji, you used to be Knight Sorrow's assistant. If Knight Sorrow was here, how would he deal with the current situation? Misty Rain looked at Jun Xuanji. She had heard about him before. Second update. Chapter 13:13. The Commander-in-Chief won't fight the enemy head-on. It's not that he can't win, but he doesn't want to see any losses. If the enemy is stronger than us, we have to play to our strengths and avoid their weaknesses, Jun Xuanji said. That's right. Knight Sorrow isn't here, so we have to gather everyone and make the most suitable decision. Qing Wuan, go to the Nine Heaven Army and call Nu Lin and the other generals here, Misty Rain said. After the generals and generals of the Qing Emperor's imperial army were gathered, Misty Rain asked Jun Xuanji to share his thoughts. Empress, this isn't appropriate. I'm just an informant under Nine Chong Pavilion's Commander-in-Chief Knight Sorrow, Jun Xuanji said. It's fine. We have to win now. Before Knight Sorrow returns, we have to stabilize the situation, Misty Rain said. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, yes, we need to stabilize the situation. We can't afford to lose too much. Do you have any good ideas? Qing Wuan said. Alright, I'll say it. War is nothing more than a battle of wits and courage. The Commander-in-Chief won't fight the enemy head-on. He will choose to use his strongest force to take down a small portion of the enemy's army. When the army moves, the enemy will follow our rhythm, Jun Xuanji said. That's a good idea. What are the details? Nu Lin asked. Let's move and make the enemy tired. If they split up, we'll take down the smallest portion. Also, we'll find a way to make them disunited and unstable internally. The Empress can send assassins into their territory to assassinate them. This way they will be worried about their rear. Their attack power will be reduced and they will have a lack of coordination, Jun Xuanji said. Xuanji's idea is good. You all know what I mean. Then we'll study the strategy according to this idea. Misty Rain set the tone. Then this subordinate will arrange for the Shadow Guards to attack and infiltrate their internal areas to assassinate them. Summer City, who had been standing silently at the side, spoke up. That won't do. If all of them are attacked, they will still act in unison. Their selfishness won't erupt, and they won't cause disharmony. If they want to capture a force and kill it, the attacked party will become restless. As for the other three, It's very likely that they won't care about it, Jun Xuanji said. Summer City, you're good at fighting and killing, but you're too low level when it comes to scheming. Profound Mysteries Realm, which side do you think we should attack? Misty Rain asked Jun Xuanji. The Celestial Sect is useless, and they're already mortal enemies. Whether you attack or not, the situation will be the same. The Martial God's Palace is further away, and it's not suitable. We can choose Blackfiend Valley and Burning Sky Tower. Aren't these two forces despicable? Then we'll capture one of them and teach them a lesson. Let them know that they have to pay the price for being a lackey. Misty Rain nodded. After discussing with everyone, they decided to attack Blackfiend Valley. The Blackfiend Valley and the Qing Emperor's dynasty already had a grudge against each other. Dealing with the Blackfiend Valley was a must. Furthermore, it would also serve as a deterrent to Burning Sky Tower. After the decision was made, Summer City went to carry it out. Misty Rain had the three legions act independently. They also had to communicate with each other and capture each other's forces. After everyone went to carry out the order, Misty Rain looked at Jun Xuanji. The Nine Domains world is really full of talents. With your strategy, it's really a waste that Night Sorrow put you in charge of intelligence. In the past, Xuanji was in charge of the development of the Xuanji realm, so he did more research on scheming and tactics. Studying intelligence in the 9 grand floors is also something I like. Empress, there's another problem. Since Ling Tian dares to ally with other forces to fight against our legions, it's very likely that he knows that Commander Night Sorrow has gone to the Xuanhuan Great World. I'm worried that he will send people to kill Commander Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji said. Misty Rain nodded. She understood that Night Sorrow had gone to find Ming Dao. Ling Tian definitely didn't want Ming Dao to go to the Qing Emperor's dynasty. If the Qing Emperor was restored, it would definitely be a nightmare for the Celestial Sect. After thinking about it and reassuring Jun Xuanji, Misty Rain left the 9 grand floors and directly teleported to the Dark Abyss. She wanted to see Datura Datura. Datura knew about Misty Rain's arrival. He came out to receive her and brought Misty Rain to the guest house. Then the two began to talk. They mainly talked about the current situation. Misty Rain told him about the Qing Emperor's dynasty's arrangements. I can't help but admire you. Apart from Night Sorrow, your Qing Emperor's dynasty still has amazing talents. Here is the strategic deployment that I just wrote. It's almost the same as what Misty Rain said. Datura took out the strategic deployment she had written and handed it to Misty Rain. I originally planned to send someone to deliver it to the Qing Emperor's dynasty, but it seems there's no need for that. This is the strategy that Night Sorrow's assistant came up with. It's almost the same as what the Overlord came up with. It's enough to show that there's no problem with it, Misty Rain said after looking at Datura's strategy. No problem. Misty Rain came because you don't have enough manpower? Alright, I'll send a squad of Bloodstrike guards over later. They'll work on your side for now, Datura said. It's not like that. Currently, the Qing Emperor's dynasty is very stable. I'm worried about Night Sorrow. The Qing Emperor's injuries are very serious. He needs Ming Dao and White Tiger's blood. White Tiger's blood aside, Night Sorrow went to the Heaven and Earth Pavilion to look for Ming Dao. Ling Tian might already know about this, so I'm worried about Night Sorrow's safety. I'm worried that he'll kill him. Misty Rain explained her intentions. If Misty Rain can come today, then the Qing Emperor should have told him about my relationship with Night Sorrow. The Qing Emperor's dynasty doesn't need to care about this. I'll arrange it and send people to the Xuanhuan Great World to wait for Night Sorrow. As long as Night Sorrow comes out, I'll personally go and pick him up. Datura was a smart woman. Misty Rain's words and attitude made her understand that Misty Rain knew about her relationship with Night Sorrow. After hearing Datura's words, Misty Rain nodded. Datura's words reassured her. Here, I'd like to thank you, Your Excellency. Misty Rain cupped her hands to Datura. She was going to leave. Since she had finished her business, she had to go back and take charge. It's nothing. Night Sorrow's business is my business, Datura's business. If you have any inconvenience, just send me a message. We, the Eastern District of the world of Samsara, must win this war. Night Sorrow flew in the space world every day to look for materials. He would not kill people just because there was a limit on the number of people who could enter the next level. That was not what a gentleman would do. He was not very worried about whether he could enter the next level or not. When the 3 months were up, some people would naturally leave. Those who didn't leave naturally had a strong desire to kill. Yishang didn't need to show any killing intent. They would take the initiative to kill. Therefore, Yishang didn't feel any pressure. Night Sorrow did not let go of the low-level materials. Many elixirs needed supplementary materials. It was good to have more materials. Chapter 13-14. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy translation battles happened from time to time, because Night Sorrow was not alone here. Many people participated in the trial of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. There were about 15,000 to 60,000 people. Some of them were disqualified, but there were still about 10,000 people who entered. After entering the space of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, there would be many people in one space. It was just that the space was big, so they did not meet each other. However, as they explored and looked for opportunities, the chances of them meeting each other increased. Battles were unavoidable. Night Sorrow was very calm. He once thought about exploring separately with his original body and avatar. If there was a battle, he could use the teleportation formation disc. However, he felt that the risk was too high. If he encountered an undefeatable danger, he might not be able to teleport in time. With his original body and avatar together, although the chances were much lower, it was safer. On the first day that Night Sorrow entered this world, he met a strong opponent. It was a young man. He was also with his original body and avatar. His combat power was not as strong as Night Sorrow's, but he had a unique skill that made him invisible at any time. Night Sorrow knew that it was a talent of the dark element. However, Night Sorrow's space whirling dragon kill and time oscillation wave could both attack the dark space. In other words, if Night Sorrow wanted to, he could attack the turbulence in space. After fighting for 15 minutes, the man retreated a distance because he was no match for Night Sorrow. In fact, if he did not retreat, Night Sorrow would have used his unique skill. Talent. Night Sorrow knew that this man's talent was very strong. It was a talent of the dark and space elements. My name is Junhua. You are very strong. I admire you. Are you interested in forming a team? Junhua looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Sorry, I'm not used to forming teams. Night Sorrow shook his head. Okay, you also have the ability to not form a team. I'm Junhua from Mount Wuling. After you go out, you can find me at Mount Wuling. I'll treat you to good wine. Junhua cupped his hands to Night Sorrow. Look at the section of the edition of. Junhua was well known in the Black-Yellow Great World. He was the disciple of the master of the Wuling Mountain. The master of the Wuling Mountain was very powerful. He was not afraid of anyone at the same level as him in a head-on fight. His disciple, Junhua, made a name for himself at a young age. He had few rivals at the same level as him. In less than 600 years he had become a king. I'm Night Sorrow of the Qing Emperor's dynasty in the world of Samsara. I'm looking forward to your visit at any time. Night Sorrow cupped one hand in the other before his chest. Junhua wasn't the kind of person to pester, so Night Sorrow didn't dislike it. After Junhua left, Night Sorrow continued his tea hunting trip. Night Sorrow also had a small harvest. He obtained a set of high-level concentric crystals, which were of the same level as the ones he and Datura used. Now Night Sorrow and Datura couldn't use the concentric crystals. The Pavilion of Heaven and Earth was the core origin of the Black-Yellow Great World. It had the ability to suppress everything in the Black-Yellow Great World. Therefore, the concentric crystals were ineffective. Although they couldn't use the concentric crystals, it didn't mean they couldn't. Datura went to the Fontian Palace to ask about Night Sorrow's current situation. She was also worried about Night Sorrow. After knowing that Night Sorrow was fine, she was relieved. In addition, Datura told Night Sorrow that her doppelganger had been waiting for Night Sorrow in the Black-Yellow world. She also told Night Sorrow about the current situation in the world of Samsara. After knowing that the celestial sect was on the move again, Night Sorrow was very angry. This Ling Tian was too despicable. He was simply shameless and pestered him endlessly. He was like a scoundrel in the marketplace. After hearing Datura talk about the battle strategy of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. Angry Qilin, Blue Luan and Blue Qilin didn't use such a battle strategy. He didn't know who came up with this battle strategy. I heard that Misty Rain hired a female military advisor for the Qing Emperor's dynasty. She came from your 9 domains world. Datura told Night Sorrow what she knew. Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow immediately understood. Only Jun Xuanji came from the 9 domains world, and had such an ability. Night Sorrow knew about Jun Xuanji's talent. His talent for cultivation was very good, but his strongest aspect was his ability to manage and strategize. With Jun Xuanji's advice, Night Sorrow felt a lot more at ease. The Qing Emperor's dynasty charged and broke through the enemy lines. With the 9 Heavens army, there wouldn't be any problems. Now that he had Jun Xuanji as the brains, he could stabilize the situation. With his heart at ease, Night Sorrow continued to investigate. Datura's original body also returned to the world of samsara. Now was a time of trouble, so he had to be careful. Night Sorrow also told Datura that he had left a message crystal between her and the Red Emperor. If someone crushed it, it would mean that they were working together to kill the other party's overlord. Datura nodded. Even if she didn't care about others, she still had to give Night Sorrow face. When it was time to act, she would act. Night Sorrow understood that the other party knew that he wasn't in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, and thought that he could gain the upper hand in the battle. In addition, he felt that the other party might really be waiting for him. Whether he could reach the heavenly law or not, the other party didn't want to give the Qing Emperor a chance to recover. Night Sorrow's life was a little boring as he continued to investigate. However, he wasn't frustrated. After cultivating to this level, his state of mind had already matured. On the 16th day, Night Sorrow's scene changed again. In other words, he changed space and entered the 3rd floor. Night Sorrow began a new round of investigation and battle. He only had one belief, and that was that no matter what he gained in each space, he had to rush to the top. This was because the higher the floor, the higher the possibility of obtaining high-grade treasures. Perhaps he couldn't obtain the heavenly law, but obtaining other treasures that could alleviate the Qing Emperor's situation was also possible. After investigating for 1,000 miles, Night Sorrow encountered trouble. It was an Ice-Fire 2-headed dragon, a Monarch-level Ice-Fire 2-headed dragon. The 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM's body flashed as it charged towards Night Sorrow. Although it was huge, it didn't affect the WIRM's speed. It was extremely fast as it charged towards Night Sorrow. Originally, Night Sorrow wanted to dodge. However, this 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM's aura was very strong. This made Night Sorrow not want to run. If you want to kill me, I'll fight with you. The 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM was also a material. Since it was delivered to his door, he had to collect it. Of course, whether he had the ability to collect it or not was another matter. Night Sorrow's body flashed. His doppelganger appeared and rushed towards the 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM with his original body. His target was the red head on the left side of the 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM. He didn't plan to fight separately. He wanted to use all his strength to destroy one of the heads of the 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM. That way, the 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM's combat power and strength would be halved. Spatial Rend. 2 spatial rends slashed towards the other head of the 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM. Night Sorrow's original body used the Great Emperor Reincarnation Slash. The reincarnation slashed out with a purple halo. His doppelganger's Great Death Obliteration Slash followed closely behind. The 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM's red head was enveloped by the purple halo. It began to struggle. Having a huge body was an advantage. When it swayed, the 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM shook off the purple halo's influence. It opened its mouth and bit Night Sorrow's reincarnation. However, Night Sorrow's doppelganger's Great Death Obliteration Slash arrived. The black halo once again enveloped the 2-headed Ice-Fire WIRM. Next, the spatial rend pierced towards its head. You're courting death. I'll take your ice fire Wyrm core. With a low roar, Night Sorrow's original body's reincarnation attacked again. Chapter 13-15. With Sky Splitter in front and Samsara behind. Samsara pierced through the gap in the two-headed flood dragon's mouth and shattered its spirit sea. After shattering the divine sea within the ice fire two-headed Wyrm's fire attribute head, Night Sorrow's true body and avatar rapidly retreated. As the ice fire two-headed Wyrm's tail lashed over, its other head also spewed out ice energy, freezing space. The frozen space extended towards Night Sorrow. After retreating for some distance, the two-headed ice fire flood dragon attacked again. However, wherever its body passed, the frozen space would follow. This was a large-scale attack. It had been careless at the beginning, and now it was cautious. It directly used its cultivation and large-scale attacks to fight Night Sorrow. Do you think I don't have a way? I'll break it. Night Sorrow and his doppelganger activated their protective treasures at the same time. The Pagoda of Time and Dragon Cauldron instantly enlarged. The Pagoda of Time and Dragon Cauldron blocked the two-headed ice fire flood dragon's path, and the Dragon Cauldron smashed towards the two-headed ice fire flood dragon. With a boom, the frozen space shattered. The Dragon Cauldron smashed it. Night Sorrow and his doppelganger charged forward again, using their two ultimate techniques again. Without any suspense, the two-headed ice fire flood dragon's left head, which was already heavily injured, was also bombarded to the point of collapsing. Night Sorrow knew that his easy victory was partly due to luck. The two-headed ice fire flood dragon had been careless and did not use its ice fire domain. If that was the case, the battle would be difficult. It would not be so easy. The two-headed ice fire flood dragon's attributes restrained each other, but when combined, it was still very powerful. When the two-headed ice fire flood dragon discovered that Night Sorrow was just a 7-star king, it did not pay attention to him. By the time it wanted to, it was already too late. After the fire head was destroyed, it could no longer use its ultimate technique. Night Sorrow stepped forward and waved Samsara, dissecting the two-headed ice fire flood dragon's corpse. A monarch rank monster naturally produced monarch rank materials, and they were very valuable. Night Sorrow first found the ice fire flood dragon's core at the joint between the two heads of the ice fire flood dragon. The ice fire flood dragon core was the most precious material in the body of the two-headed ice fire flood dragon. It could be used to refine pills and forge artifacts. It contained a very powerful energy. King could extract the energy from it to cultivate with twice the result with half the effort. Night Sorrow felt that this treasure was very suitable for Wu Lingfei to cultivate. Because Wu Lingfei's ice element had evolved to the life element, this ice fire dragon core was very suitable for her to cultivate. Wu Lingfei had reached the pinnacle of the Saint King realm a long time ago. She had found a place where life elemental intent manifested in the ocean wave realm. She had begun to cultivate and comprehend intent. Unknowingly, the cultivation level of the 9 regions world continued to rise. Shueshi was the same. She comprehended the wind attribute willpower in a secret place in the profound heaven world. It wasn't that Night Sorrow didn't want to help them, but they felt that they had to walk their own path. If they really couldn't do it, it wouldn't be too late for Night Sorrow to help them. Night Sorrow knew that if he waited a little longer, a new batch of King Realm would appear in the 9 regions world. It was just that he didn't know how long it would take. Shaking his head to get rid of his thoughts, Night Sorrow collected the body of the two-headed ice fire flood dragon. The bones and skin of the monarch-grade flood dragon were both treasures for forging artifacts. They could be used to forge high-grade king artifacts. After taking care of the two-headed ice fire flood dragon, Night Sorrow continued to explore. He knew that the danger level was much higher than the previous 2 spaces. He wanted to collect more high-grade materials. As they moved forward, Yishang saw Junhua by accident. Yishang paid attention to it and let her pass. He didn't think that he would meet someone he knew. Perhaps this was just a coincidence. The chances of them advancing at the same time and entering the next level in the same spatial world were not high. Junhua also saw Night Sorrow. He knew that with Night Sorrow's strength, it was very likely that he would obtain a great harvest. If he didn't, it would be because Night Sorrow was from a different world and was rejected by the Xuanhuan Great World. He would face difficulties that others couldn't. The battle became more and more intense. Fortunately, Night Sorrow had grown up in battle. He was not afraid of battle. 2 months later, Night Sorrow had successfully advanced 12 times. In other words, he had reached the 13th level. After entering the 13th level, Night Sorrow found that the difficulty was much higher. This was because king-grade demonic beasts had appeared. Once a battle broke out, it would be a bloody battle that would continue until both sides died. Night Sorrow knew that if he wasn't a high-grade king, he wouldn't be able to survive here. Once he entered, he would have to announce his withdrawal. However, after calculating the time, 3 months were almost up. Next would be the killing mode. What was left was a fight to the death. It was a true fight to the death. This was because there was no chance of reincarnation even if one died. One had to know that everyone had entered with their original body. Even if their clone was outside, if the original body died, the clone would remain alive. Without the comprehension of the realm, they couldn't marry or have children. It could be said that they were just struggling at death's door. Night Sorrow continued to explore this space with relatively dense energy. If he could avoid a battle, he would naturally avoid it. However, he found that all the demonic beasts here had powerful detection abilities. They would detect him in advance. Along the way, he killed and fought. When he met a cultivator, no one would be polite. Survival of the fittest. No one would blame the heavens or blame others for their death. On the 3rd day after Night Sorrow entered the 13th level, a gong sounded in the spatial world. The 3-month trial period was up. If he persisted, there would be no chance to withdraw. He would either die or be sent out when the Heaven and Earth Pavilion closed. Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and continued to explore the space. What came next was the main event. It was the time to struggle and reap great rewards. Night Sorrow knew that reaching the 13th level in 3 months was very fast. However, he was still far from it. When he was outside the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, he saw that there were dozens of levels. Now he had only walked a dozen or so. He remembered that Tang Bo and the others had said that someone had seen a heavenly Dao artifact on the last level. That meant that someone had reached the very top. Only at the very top could one find diluted rare treasures. The heavenly Dao was definitely a diluted rare treasure. After exploring for a few days, Night Sorrow saw a spatial tunnel. He decided to enter it. This was the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. The spatial tunnel was connected to the inner space of the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. When he had arrived at the 13th level, he had been brought in by the mysterious golden light. According to Ran Zhao's law, spatial tunnels couldn't lead to the lower level, so it naturally led to the upper level. After passing through the tunnel, he arrived at another space. However, Night Sorrow felt that there was something wrong with this space. There was an oppressive baleful aura that made him feel vexed. After being affected, Night Sorrow realized that his emotions had changed, and he knew what was going on. He had to protect his divine sea. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow used his soul power to activate his light of virtue to protect his divine sea. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Actually, the most convenient way to protect his divine sea was to use the 9 domain sources to protect his divine sea. However, Night Sorrow didn't want to do that. The 9 domain sources were supreme elemental sources. If they were activated at a high intensity, it would alert the Heaven and Earth Pavilion's artifact spirit. The light of virtue didn't have this drawback. As he advanced, Night Sorrow unexpectedly saw a lifelike skeleton. It was a middle-aged man. He seemed to be meditating, but he had lost all signs of life. Chapter 13:16. Night Sorrow took a closer look and realized that the man's body looked fine on the outside, but his bones and veins were gold with a hint of black. They had been corroded by a strong poison. Night Sorrow knew that this skeleton didn't die recently. It should be someone from another era. Night Sorrow took the storage ring that the man was wearing. Then he waved his arm and created a big hole in the ground. He moved the man's corpse into the hole and buried it. Night Sorrow then opened the storage ring. Look at the original chapter and section of the chapter. The moment Night Sorrow opened the storage ring, a man appeared. His face was the same as the face of the corpse. Although I've cultivated my body, I'm not strong enough to defend myself against my opponent's absolute poison. There are only two ways to deal with it. One is to cultivate the legendary Myriad Tao Tome, and the other is to understand the way. The Myriad Tao Tome is the human sovereign's ultimate skill. Back then, the human sovereign fought with his opponent for the divine artifact of the heavenly path, and its whereabouts are unknown. Therefore, I can only look forward to understanding the way, but unfortunately, the heavens are not helping me. The man raised his head and looked at the void as he muttered to himself. Night Sorrow was shocked. The Myriad Tao Tome was the ultimate skill of the human sovereign. Then, its appearance in the 9 regions world must be related to the heavenly artifact, the Haotian godly pagoda. I've already foreseen my demise, but I still have regrets in my heart. I have a wife, and I'm very worried about her. I obtained the Thunder Core Iron by chance, and its attribute is suitable for my wife. I originally planned to go out and find a heavenly artificer to give her a weapon, but my hopes have been dashed. I hope that you can give the Thunder Core Iron to her. Night Sorrow sighed. He knew that this was the fate of the heavenly Tao. If one's luck was bad, then they would die. Jun Yunan's collection was still very rich. Night Sorrow didn't plan to take the resources. After he went out, if he saw Jun Yunan's wife, he would return them. He didn't want Jun Yunan to die with regrets. Night Sorrow saw a martial art and felt that it was pretty good. It was called Shadow Body. It was a martial art that could use energy to create shadows. The opponent wouldn't be able to tell the real one from the fake. No matter if it was attacking or escaping, it had a great advantage. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that it was okay to cultivate it himself. After all, Jun Yunan said that he would give him the rest. Shadow Body was also an ultimate skill that Jun Yunan had studied for many years. It wasn't an ultimate skill of the Wuling Villa. If it was an ultimate skill of the Wuling Villa, it would be immoral for Night Sorrow to learn it. It was the inheritance of a force. Even if he learned it, they might investigate. However, it was an ultimate skill that was created by Jun Yunan's own. Holding the book, Night Sorrow started to study it. It wasn't hard to cultivate the shadow body. The hard part was that the soul power had to be strong enough to condense energy into shadows. The stronger the soul power, the harder it would be to tell the real from the fake. After cultivating for 2 days, Night Sorrow had successfully cultivated the shadow body. He then continued on his journey and continued to explore. Jun Yunan also needed to understand the Tao. He had failed on his journey. Night Sorrow wanted to continue on. He didn't know if there was a Tao, but he had to work hard. Pressing forward, Night Sorrow's sharpness was getting sharper. This was also a reflection of his state of mind and his willpower. Night Sorrow no longer avoided battles. When he was exploring the space and collecting resources and ores, he didn't hesitate to kill anyone who came looking for trouble, no matter if they were cultivators or demonic beasts. Half a month later, Night Sorrow found a space tunnel. Without any hesitation, he went in and entered the 15th floor. After entering the 15th floor, Night Sorrow felt a little refreshed. This was because this space world gave people a relaxed feeling. Taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow knew that even if he used the light of virtue to protect himself, he would still be affected in the previous space. Battle. Just as Night Sorrow stabilized himself, a group of demonic beasts with snake heads and human bodies appeared. They were all king beasts. They surrounded Night Sorrow and started to attack. Using the shadow body, Night Sorrow started to kill the demonic beasts without them being able to tell if he was real or fake. He had speed and attack power. Night Sorrow's battle power was already at the monarch rank. Moreover, he also had the dual absolute arts. After half an hour, the group of demonic beasts were all killed by Night Sorrow. Looking at the battlefield, Night Sorrow could feel that after the demonic beasts died, the energy and soul power in their bodies quickly dispersed and returned to the heaven and earth. This made Night Sorrow understand that the heaven and earth pavilion had its own rules. After the death of a life, all the energy would return to the heaven and earth. No matter if it was the life in the original space or the cultivators who entered later, it was the same. There was nothing to clean up. Night Sorrow continued to move forward. He was more careful as he moved forward. The 15th floor was different from when he first entered. The level of resources was different and the risks were also different. The commander of the demonic beasts was at the king level. If an ordinary king entered, even a high-level king would die and become nourishment for the heaven and earth pavilion. After moving forward for half a day, Night Sorrow took a break and brewed a pot of tea. At this moment, Jun Xuanji arrived at the Heaven Sealing Hall and reported the situation to Night Sorrow. The situation in the eastern region of the world of reincarnation was still relatively stable. The Blackfiend Valley could not even take care of itself because the dark guards of the Qing Emperor's dynasty were very fierce. Although there were not many of them, they were all experts in assassination. When they attacked, the Blackfiend Valley suffered heavy losses. The Blackfiend Valley asked the Burning Sky Tower and the Celestial Sect for help. Li Tianba's intention was to clear out the dark guards of the Qing Emperor's dynasty in the Blackfiend Valley and weaken the power of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. However, Ling Tian felt that the dark guards were experts in assassination and would not be able to catch them. The Blackfiend Valley was so big, who would be able to catch them if they hid? The Blackfiend Valley's defenses were not as strict as the Qing Emperor's dynasty. The Celestial Sect and the Burning Sky Tower did not help, and it was not convenient for the Martial God Palace to help. Li Tianba angrily announced his withdrawal from the alliance. At this moment, he realized that Ling Tian was unreliable. He formed the alliance and did not care about the life and death of the alliance. The departure of the Blackfiend Valley's people made Ling Tian very angry. This was equivalent to weakening the alliance's power. After thinking for a while, Ling Tian also sent people to assassinate them. Success. The assassins sent by the Celestial Sect assassinated one of the Qing Emperor's dynasty's city lords. However, the result was that the Qing Emperor's guards immediately arrived and sealed the city. They started investigating and killing. A small group of people from the Celestial Sect did not manage to escape and were directly killed by the Qing Emperor's guards. The Celestial Sect's assassins were also very strong, but in terms of assassination, they were not as good as the Dark Guards. This was because the Dark Guards of the Qing Emperor's dynasty all cultivated a consummate skill, the Dark Night Body. This was a consummate skill that the Qing Emperor's Qing Emperor had learned in the past. It was a consummate skill for assassination and retirement. It was because of this consummate skill that the Qing Emperor formed the Dark Guards. Ling Tian, who was at a disadvantage, calmed down. He understood that he was now in a difficult situation. He was puzzled. Night Sorrow had already entered the Heaven and Earth Pavilion, so who else in the Qing Emperor's dynasty could come up with such a strategy? Ling Tian felt that this was not good. He had to think of a way to solve the current crisis. Chapter 13-17. Ling Tian once again sent spies into the Qing Emperor's dynasty to find out who was in charge of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Some things couldn't be hidden from others, and Ling Tian quickly received the results of his investigation. The Qing Emperor's dynasty's new military advisor, Jun Xuanji, was appointed by Misty Rain, and the Qing Emperor's dynasty was very strict about protecting him. Jun Xuanji was with Misty Rain every day, and there was no way to assassinate him unless there was a huge battle, but the consequences would be too severe. At this moment, Ling Tian received news that the Burning Heaven Hall had also been attacked. This time, Ling Tian didn't dare to ignore it. If he didn't, then the Heaven Sealing Hall would withdraw, and this alliance would be meaningless. If his strength was inferior to the other party, how could he suppress them? Ling Tian arranged for the Celestial Sect and Martial God Palace's people to defend the Burning Heaven Pavilion. But the price was that they would no longer be able to pressure the Qing Emperor's dynasty. The situation stabilized once again. Night Sorrow warned Jun Xuanji not to leave the 9-layer pavilion. Jun Xuanji told Night Sorrow that Misty Rain had come with her to Seven Night City. When she came to the 9-domain world, Misty Rain had accompanied the Qing Emperor. Only then did Night Sorrow relax. Everything was stable, and he could go all out without any worries. Jun Xuanji left, and Night Sorrow's clone in the Heaven Sealing Pavilion continued to study formations. Night Sorrow's main body brought his clone and started to advance. It should be said that they were scouting, because there was no target in this space. They could either kill or find a spatial tunnel. If they found one, then it would be the entrance to the next level. As for going back to the next level, that was impossible. When Night Sorrow had just entered, the spatial tunnel behind him had closed and disappeared, which meant that he could only advance and not retreat. Scouting meant that there was danger, and he had to fight. Night Sorrow felt that it was because his cultivation had increased quickly in the past 2 years, and he had learned some ultimate techniques. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to survive and would be killed as soon as he entered. Night Sorrow also met other cultivators. At this time, no one spoke any nonsense. If they met, they would fight to the death. If they couldn't win, they would run. After staying on the 15th floor for half a month, he had killed 2 cultivators and many demon beasts. Night Sorrow had also obtained some resources. For example, Night Sorrow had collected a lot of the Profound Spirit Pills material, the Profound Spirit Grass. On the 7th day, Night Sorrow found another spatial tunnel. He entered it again and continued to explore the 16th level. Day and night passed as he wandered. Half a year later, Yi Shan entered the 21st level. In the past 6 months, Night Sorrow had fought countless battles. He had killed many cultivators and cleared many Yao beasts. He had also collected many resources. Once, Night Sorrow had encountered danger. It was a monarch-rank flying centipede. It was very poisonous, and its poisonous gas attacked his body. Night Sorrow was not afraid because his body was already at the advanced king rank. Some poisons could no longer hurt him. However, this flying centipede's poison attacked the soul. Night Sorrow had used a glazed golden core to block the poisonous gas attack before he killed the flying centipede. However, Night Sorrow had discovered it a little late. The poison had invaded his body, and he had to heal for half a month before he recovered. After suffering a loss, Night Sorrow had become more careful. He knew that this time he had the glazed golden core to protect his body. Otherwise, he would have been in danger of dying. He continued to move forward. Although he was in awe, Night Sorrow was not afraid of any challenge. Continuous battles, made Night Sorrow's battle intent stronger. The battle intent brought about waves that rippled in all directions. It was easy to cultivate murderous aura and baleful aura. However, it was too difficult to cultivate battle intent. Many cultivators could release their murderous aura. Sandalwood could do it. Even Run Tianji could do it. Sandalwood could even release baleful aura. Night Sorrow had gone through a period of endless battles. He did not have any murderous aura. He only had battles to sharpen himself. He had cultivated the battle intent. Night Sorrow was very happy with this unexpected harvest. It was difficult to cultivate pure battle intent. It could suppress some other auras. Sword intent, saber intent, and murderous aura were not as high as pure battle intent. It was rare to sharpen oneself in battles without killing intent. It was almost impossible to treat a battle of life and death as a battle. Night Sorrow felt very lucky. With a harvest, there was a direction. Night Sorrow felt that the battle intent was very effective. It directly affected the opponent's state. Regardless of whether it was a cultivator or a demonic beast, the will of heaven and earth in their body would be weakened and their strength would decrease. Every time he fought, Night Sorrow would try to condense and release the battle intent, trying to cultivate it to a higher level. With the help of the battle intent, Night Sorrow's combat strength increased again, especially in a group battle. The battle intent had a great impact on the opponent. Night Sorrow was very happy that his combat strength had increased. This was a great help to him. Night Sorrow continued to move forward. He did not know how many levels he had to go through in the Heaven and Earth Pavilion. However, he felt that he had reached the level where anything could happen. Mingdao might also appear. When Night Sorrow explored, he met his opponent. It was a woman in a white dress. Her eyes were filled with murderous aura. "Get out of the way. I don't want to kill anyone," Night Sorrow said when he saw the woman blocking his way. "If too many cultivators enter, it will be very difficult to meet the conditions to enter the next level. Therefore, you will stop here today." The woman waved her arm, and a curved blade appeared in her hand. "No matter who it is, they can't stop me. I won't stop others, but I will kill whoever stops me." Night Sorrow's arm shook, and samsara appeared in his hand. He then attacked. The curved blade in the woman's hand hung diagonally. It was a special slash technique. With a crisp sound, Yishang's body didn't move. The woman in white was pushed back by Yishang's attack. Although Yishang had only used an ordinary attack, his strength was incomparably vigorous. His true chi was also abnormally tyrannical, so the woman couldn't withstand it. The woman's body flashed. She circled around Night Sorrow and began to attack with her blade. Her speed was unparalleled. However, Night Sorrow's speed was also his forte. Not only was he fast, but his speed was also supported by the will of time and space. It was more than enough to block the woman. In an instant, the two of them had exchanged dozens of moves. The woman could not make Night Sorrow retreat even half a step. At this time, Night Sorrow's battle intent burst out. Waves of battle intent rippled in all directions. Then he attacked with a spatial twisting dragon kill. Following an explosion, the woman was blasted far away by Yishang. The woman did not continue. After probing, she knew that she was not a match for Night Sorrow. After all, her strength was suppressed. Her attributes were suppressed, and her will was suppressed. If you don't want to fight, get out of the way. Seeing that the woman did not move, Night Sorrow did not move either. If she knew when to advance or retreat, he did not want to kill her. Can you do me a favor? The woman looked at Night Sorrow and asked. No, Night Sorrow refused straightforwardly. He was too busy to deal with his own matters, and he did not want to complicate matters. Listen to me first. There is a treasure in this space, but I can't take it myself. If we work together, we might be able to. The treasure will belong to you. And I will only take one thing. The white-robed woman looked at Yishang and said her reason. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.